following is a special presentation of ESPN on ABC.
The Talladega Superspeedway in Alabama, 2 2/3 miles around, the biggest track in NASCAR, a place built with only one thing in mind: speed. The action here is so good, fans from all 50 states and 18 countries around the world have bought tickets for this weekend's races. Today they'll see a field filled with NASCAR stars. Young drivers, some very well-known names like Dale Earnhardt Jr., all hoping to try and challenge Kyle Busch, winner of 3 straight races. He and the others hoping to avoid the big wreck and take home a big trophy at day's end.
NASCAR returns to the biggest, baddest superspeedway around, where last year Kyle Busch experienced a different kind of roll. At 22, he tries to become only the second driver to win 4 in a row. Standing in his way, Tony Stewart, who last year lost by the slimmest margin of the season.
If anybody had to go by me, I sure as hell would rather be you. Thank you, bud.
It took 10 months, and Tony and his new Toyota had redemption.
Tony Stewart will win the season opener at Daytona.
With 6 wins under his belt, no one is more intimidating here than Dale Earnhardt Jr. Can he find victory lane in his own ride? And everyone is on the lookout for the big one.
You think you're going to escape the big one, but you seldom do.
Bumper to bumper at 190 miles per hour. Buckle up. This is Talladega.
And we welcome you to ESPN's NASCAR Countdown as the NASCAR Nationwide Series gets set for its once-a-year race at the Talladega Superspeedway in Alabama. Those scattered thunderstorms are in the forecast. The track is dry now. These drivers are all getting ready to go. Introductions beginning shortly. Mike Bliss starts on the front row. There's Cale Gale, the youngster driving for Kevin Harvick. Brad Coleman, also another one of the young Nationwide Series drivers, and Brad Keselowski driving for Dale Earnhardt Jr., one of the threats to win today. Let's go trackside now and begin our interviews with the man who starts on the front row outside. Mike Bliss is with our Jamie Little.
And he's a nationwide only driver, and yesterday Mike Bliss, he told me it's not necessarily about running with the experienced drivers here, it's about running with those who have won here. You're starting second, nobody who's won is immediately around you. What's your plan, Mike?
You can sit here and make a plan, and I've been thinking about it pretty hard too all day. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you want to get behind Stewart or the 5 Junior. I think us Nationwide guys need to stick together and just team up on them, gang up on them. So maybe Jason and I talked a little bit. We're going to try to stay up front. Our Miccosukee Chevrolet was really fast yesterday, and I'm just going to fight and claw as much as I can to stay up front today.
Hey, this could get exciting, AB. We could get a little nationwide only drivers versus the Cup drivers. See how it turns out.
Oh, it's always exciting at Talladega, Jamie. And you look now at the start-finish line at this racetrack. That's the tri-oval where the start-finish line is at most speedways. Talladega, things are a little different. It's down closer to turn number 1. A lot can happen between that tri-oval and that finish line. We've seen it many times over the years. And there's our ESPN pit studio with a wonderful view of what we hope to be an exciting finish of today's race. And we welcome you inside. Alan Bestwick, proud to be joined by former Talladega winner Dale Jarrett and former NASCAR Nationwide Series team owner Brad Daugherty. The racing here at Talladega, a few words to describe what we're going to see in these next couple hours.
Alan, it's the most nerve-wracking, intense racing that these guys will do all year long. You're never able to get away from the other cars. The pack of cars you're going to be in all day long. You're looking in your mirror constantly, the spotter's in your ear. As much as we talk about how intense it really is, at the end of the day, it's a lot of fun if you can get to that part.
Oh, absolutely. You're talking 4 and 5 wide racing. You're talking about these big V8s gasping for air. You're talking about on the mat. We got beverages, we got burgers, we got burning rubber. This is as good as it gets.
It's a whole scene. Racing here is just different for a driver. It's different from what they normally do most every other week of the season.
Yeah, because it's all about drafting. It doesn't matter how good your car is. Everybody's going to be wide open. Everybody's got basically the same horsepower. The cars aerodynamically are a lot the same. It's about drafting and learning the draft. What your car is going to do a little bit better than someone else. How that's going to get you to the front of the pack at the end of 117 laps.
Yeah, and as I talk to these guys, Carl Edwards and Greg Biffle and whatnot, they talk about experimenting with their cars early, trying to figure out what their race car NASCAR does best. They want to get out front and run, see how fast their car is with other cars, how big a hole it can knock in the air, and so they're working throughout the day, building momentum. And like DJ says, as the day goes on, it gets more and more intense because you're working towards winning.
These guys all look pretty relaxed right now, sitting there waiting for things to happen, but I guarantee you in about 20 minutes from now when they start buckling into those race cars, the tempo is going to pick up on their heart rate and their thoughts, and it will be a very event-filled afternoon for all of these drivers here at Talladega. Coming up, the name Earnhardt is synonymous with winning at this racetrack. Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the field, as is his young protege Brad Keselowski. Could he be a first-time Talladega winner today? We'll talk with the early season contenders for the championship, Clint Bowyer, Carl Edwards, and the series' hottest driver, Kyle Busch. And the big wreck. It usually happens in a Talladega race. Dodging it is one of the keys to winning this race.
You're watching ESPN on ABC. NASCAR Countdown on ABC. Brought to you by Goodyear. Innovative technology to help you get there.
Closing in on the start here at Talladega Superspeedway, the car at the head of that line on pit road, that 20 machine, will be driven today by Tony Stewart. He is on the pole for today's race. He won the race at Daytona, this track's sister speedway, back in February. Can he do it again? Mike Massaro is with him now.
And Alan, amidst a ton of talk about his contract this week, Tony Stewart said his focus is on winning races, and that's what you'll try to do today. How good's the car?
I think it's pretty good. I'm conversing with my truck series driver / expert, Chrissy Wallace here, so she's going to give me the tips that hopefully will carry us to victory lane today. So I'm excited. I mean, our Old Spice car is good. Qualified good, obviously, yesterday, and we didn't get a chance to really run it in the draft, so I don't know what it's going to do in a pack of cars yet, but the good news is in about 35-40 minutes, I want to know exactly what it's going to do in a big pack of cars.
Well, if Daytona's an indication, he'll do pretty good. He led 46 laps there, went to victory lane. The only guy who led more laps, Kyle Busch. Can't keep a good man down.
Kyle Busch is literally driving the wheels off.
You know when you're hot, you're just hot. Kyle Busch gets his first win in 2008. Woo! Yeah, boy! Come on, give me a group hug. Woo!
I love winning. I'll win as long as we can win.
Kyle Busch has done a lot of winning in a short period of time. He turns 23 years old next week, and of all the drivers who've won in this series before the age of 23, Kyle has almost as many wins as the rest of them put together. The hottest driver in NASCAR right now starts 8th today. He's with our Shannon Spake.
Well, it certainly has been a great month for Kyle Busch. 3 wins in a row, looking to make history today here by making it 4 in a row. Such a young age, Kyle. How aware are you of the historical impact you're making on this sport?
Not much any. You know, we just go out there to try to win every week and do the best we can and see what we can get on given weekends, you know, and luckily in the past 3 weeks we've been able to get the victory lane, and hopefully here today it's none too different where we can try to win 4 in a row.
All right, well, good luck to you today. Kyle Busch, a month of firsts for him. His first win on a road course, his first win, looking to make his first win here at Talladega in the Nationwide Series today. Alan?
Certainly Kyle is on a roll, a driver getting on a roll like that. DJ, you've lived it before. Brad, you've seen it before in basketball and racing and all kinds of sports. How's it happen? What's it like?
Well, you have to have good equipment in this sport. That's the first thing, and Kyle does have that. He has good people around him. But the thing that's most impressive about him is that he's been able to do it in 3 different series, 3 different types of racing vehicles with 3 different crew chiefs, and doing all of this with just driving talent. He goes out and tells the crew what he needs, what they need to do to the car. He gets the job done, and that's very, very impressive to me.
You know, if you use the phrase best in the business, you think of people like Jeff Gordon, Tony Stewart, and so on. Are we ready to put Kyle Busch in that best of the business class yet?
No, I don't think quite yet. I think in order to be great or to be the best in the business, you have to win championships, and that's in any sport. That's how that is determined. But Kyle Busch, if you go through this garage, or like DJ says, you watch him drive any of these vehicles, he is very, very talented. I mean, if we just think back to last year, we were sitting here talking about, you know, how many races this kid could have won if he hadn't have had problems. All of a sudden, that switch has been flipped, and now he is on a roll.
Kyle was not initially planning on running all of these Nationwide Series races and competing for the championship. Now he's saying, well, maybe. What do you think of the factors that are going to determine whether he competes for this championship or not?
I think the biggest factor is sponsorship dollars for Joe Gibbs Racing. Are they going to be able to support this team throughout the entire series? And it looks like that Kyle is something that he's seriously considering right now. But I really believe the bottom line is going to be, do they have the money to make this happen? If
Anyone in this garage area can receive a sponsorship opportunity, it's going to be Kyle Busch, because when he gets in that race car, he is going to lead laps. He's going to have an opportunity to win the race. So if you're looking for a marketing opportunity, and off the racetrack, he's a very, very interesting young man. So he's a marketing dream.
Speaking of championship, Kyle third in the standings as we check the points entering today's race. Clint Bowyer is the top man in the points, just 9 ahead of Carl Edwards. That's as little as 2 finishing positions in today's race. Any of those top 3 could be the championship leader at the end of the day. We've heard from Kyle. Let us hear now from the point leader. We hear from Clint Bowyer with Jamie Little.
Well, Alan, 9 points. That's the closest this first and second championship battle has been since 2001. So, Clint, you come in as the leader. How difficult will it be to leave here as the leader?
Well, Dan and all the guys will start off with Camping World Chevrolet's fast. You know, it does everything in practice that you need it to do to win the race, but you know, right now you just got to keep that ball rolling, and Talladega is certainly one of those tracks where that ball can come to a screeching halt. You know, you never know what to expect here. You can get into trouble fast, so just got to use our heads here, be solid, you know, out on the racetrack on my end of it, and in the pits, you know, on their end of it. But hopefully we'll have a good day here, and we'll win this baby.
All right, well, this is one of 3 tracks, Alan, that Richard Childress Racing has never won in the Nationwide Series. Perhaps Clint Bowyer will do the job.
And he takes the green in 6th position today. Well, this is the day of the NFL Draft. A look at New York, Radio City Music Hall, where the NFL Draft is being held. Football teams picking players they hope will help them win games in seasons to come. While we'll see the racing version of the draft plenty through the afternoon, let's take a few minutes and put 4 of our experts on the spot. Earlier, we made them draft a team of racers they think can outrun the others today, 3 apiece, and each team must include a series regular. Basically, we're going to combine their finishes, and like golf, the lowest score wins. It doesn't pay anything. It's just our version of a pool on draft day. And note the lower left-hand note. No cheating. Sometimes in racing, it's important to say that. Through the random draw, DJ got the first pick. DJ, who'd you pick and why?
Well, I went with a man that's the fastest here so far, Tony Stewart, as my first choice. He won the race at Daytona. I think that he has an excellent opportunity. Even though he hasn't won here at Talladega, I think that he has that chance today. I went with David Rudiman, a good friend of mine, obviously, but I think that David has learned a lot over the last couple of years racing here, and he'll give me a good finish today. And then a young man that I've been very impressed with all year, Brad Keselowski, is going to bring that car home. If he doesn't win the race, he's going to be right up front.
That's a pretty strong team. Shannon, you got the second pick.
Well, not a bad pick for Dale, but here I go. Number 1, I have Kyle Busch, because like every good lineman, Kyle Busch has certainly proved this season that he has the ability to block, something that's very important here at Talladega. Number 2, David Ragan. He finished 4th in his first start here at Talladega last year, a top 10 at Daytona earlier this season. The youngest of the Roush camp, certainly impressive on these super speedways. And my final pick, the nationwide only driver, is Jason Leffler. He is the franchise player or driver at Braun Racing, and his skills on the super speedway can't be overlooked.
Strong.
Man. Well, I tell you what, I'm going to blow them all away. My first guy is out of Kannapolis, North Carolina, in the Delphi Chevrolet, Mr. Dale Earnhardt Jr. His record speaks for itself, especially here at Talladega. Second, I'm going to go with a young man who got his first win this year out of Wausau, Wisconsin, Scott Wimmer. I expect Scott to win 2 or 3 more races, and he could win this race here today in the Chevrolet, the Holiday Inn Chevrolet. And then we're going to go out of Milwaukee, Oregon. Get my man starting second outside pole, Mike Bliss, in the Miccosukee Resorts Chevrolet. He's very, very talented, and Mike is on the verge of getting a win.
Very geographically diverse team there. Who's left, Mike? You picked last.
Well, it's difficult to pick 4th. I find myself in a hole, but I think I've got a pretty solid team, and I start with my number 1 draft pick, Carl Edwards. I mean, he's the defending series champion. He's in the midst of a 29-race winless streak, and I think he's due. The second guy, Clint Bowyer. He's never won here in Talladega, but he drives for Richard Childress Racing, and we know their record at this type of a racetrack. That's pretty good, too. My dark horse, Mike Wallace. He has 2 victories at restrictor plate tracks, although they both came at Daytona, one in a truck, one in a nationwide car, and I think Mike Wallace might be the dark horse today. I think I've got a solid team, guys.
I'm just sitting here thinking that in a racing draft at Talladega, Junior fell to the 3rd pick. That's kind of a Brady Quinn.
I tricked him. I Jedi mind tricked him. I distracted him with cupcakes yesterday when we were doing this.
Is that what it was? All right, so let's recap. Who picked who? And oh, look, we're just
man, look at those mustaches, man.
Old school photos there.
Oh, that's scary. That is scary. DJ,
wow.
man, what was going on?
Did you pay for those sunglasses?
That's sweet. That is sweet.
Couldn't have.
Wow,
that is nice.
All right. Hey, it's just for fun. We'll come back later in the day. And by the way, I'm the commissioner. I'm in charge. Someone can sway a tie vote with buying me dinner.
Yeah, here's a 20 right now.
Later on. Yeah. There you go. Time for break on NASCAR Countdown. Dale Earnhardt Jr. We will talk to him next. He starts 7th in today's race. Heard one of our draftees, Jason Leffler. He's on the inside of row 2. Dario Franchitti outside row 2. We'll see how he does in the NASCAR draft at Talladega. Getting ready for some NASCAR racing at Talladega. 29 minutes to the green flag. Dale Earnhardt Jr. with Sumit Shipman from the United States Naval Academy down on the grid. Jr. is one of the most successful drivers at this track, a 6-time winner here. He learned from his late father, who won here 14 times. Now Jr. sharing his racing knowledge with a young protege, Michigan native Brad Keselowski, also the son of a successful racer. It's a partnership that's proving beneficial to both.
Lap 1, turn 1, and there goes the 88 car, the Navy Chevy, up across the racetrack.
I need to get finishes under my belt as an owner. We were losing money and spending money on hand over fist, and we were just going through so much inventory. I just had to get to where I could finish some races because we were going down, we were sinking shit. I talked to Brad at Bristol. He talked about his team and how it was built and what the issues were, to how to get it better, and he understood it really well. I could tell that he could see what was going on around him and was pretty intelligent, so that was great. You know, plus he had a decent ability on the racetrack as a driver, period, and so that's what we needed. That's exactly what we needed, so he fit right in.
And there's Brad Keselowski getting his first of 3 consecutive rides in the car owned by Dale Earnhardt Jr.
I was lucky to get the opportunity that I've gotten by starting out with a smaller team, that maybe I've learned some lessons that have made me better and more prepared for this opportunity.
You got to think Dale Earnhardt Jr. is real proud of this guy. This is exactly what he was looking for, somebody to be solid and bring this car home.
It took me a while to convince people that Brad was better than his statistics. He was definitely going to be an improvement and a way for this company to get its head above water. The team overall has stepped it up from last year. I contribute a lot of that to Brad and him just growing up. I feel like everyone's starting to kind of see what I'm seeing, that he's got a good amount of talent.
The whole time he's been there and been supportive and like, what can we do to get better? You know, maybe we ought to look at this or that. And, you know, he's just always there and always thinking about it, which is really cool to have an owner like that.
So as Brad Keselowski continues to learn from Dale Earnhardt Jr., they come to a track where he has had great success that some may say keeps a lot of things that you know that you won't tell other people. How much have you told Brad Keselowski about winning in the draft here?
Well, you know, we don't really sit down and discuss it too much. I try to show him what I can in practice, but there's a little bit of an etiquette deal that you have to understand early on to build a trust within the other competitors around you. And that, you do that in practice. You get out there and you run well and you stay in line, you work together, and you show them guys you can be trusted and whatnot. And that is the first real hurdle. Guys don't want to work with you. Even if you got a great car, guys can shuffle you to the back if they don't want you up there in the draft. So, especially racing against all the Cup guys here in this race today. So he just has to get the respect from these guys to where they'll work with him and help him, and he can help them. And he'll find himself toward the front most of the day with opportunity to win at the end.
All right, Brad Keselowski working on respect. Dale Earnhardt Jr., he's already earned it. Alan?
Junior starts 7th today. Keselowski 5th. We'll keep an eye on them throughout the day. Can't set up a Talladega race without discussing something on every driver and team member's mind right now, the big wreck.
You think you're going to escape the big one, but you seldom do.
Oh, we've got trouble on the track, and it's Kyle Busch upside down.
It's Russian roulette. I mean, you just never know. You can just as easily win as finish upside down on fire.
You can't prepare really for the wreck here because there's so many things that are chance.
You have to have a lot of trust in every driver out there that you're around, because one little mistake from anyone causes a big crash.
Whoa, contact, and this is the one no one wanted, the big one.
I drive around here saying, don't let me cause it. I prefer to get taken out rather than be the one who started off the chain reaction.
Well, we have seen caution-free races here at Talladega before, but how likely and why are we to see the big one here today?
Well, not very likely that that's going to happen because these cars do run in such a big pack. But, you know, Dale Earnhardt Jr. said something a minute ago, respect. And if you have a lot of that out there and can show and give that today, then we're going to have a lot better race, just good, hard racing. But it's a lot to ask when these cars are running that close together for this amount of time.
Yeah, as the day goes on, like DJ said earlier, the tensions start to build, guys start taking chances, and just a small chance on this racetrack creates havoc, as you can see.
And very, very rarely is there a single car accident at this racetrack. Bump drafting, a term we're going to hear throughout the day. Refresh us on what it is, why it works, and what the risks are.
Well, with these nationwide cars, they create a lot of downforce, and so when you have that downforce on the nose of that race car, the back end's up in the air. That's not good here. It slows you down. So when a car pulls up behind you with that downforce, you punch a huge hole in the air, and he can literally bump your bumper down that back or front straightaway. But when you go into the corner, we don't want to hear anything about bump drafting, do we, DJ?
No, we need to do it all on the straightaway. If we can keep it there, most of the time, everything's going to be okay. And you have to be respectful of that guy in front of you, not hitting him too hard because that can create a problem. But keeping it on the straightaway, not through the tri-oval in the corners, and we'll be a lot better off.
It's hard for someone who has never driven a race car at a place like this to fathom. You're intentionally bumping someone at 200 miles an hour in that kind of traffic, but it happens. We'll see it throughout the day. Going to send you upstairs and get ready for the race. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks.
And while we send DJ upstairs, let's talk about the rules package the cars use here today. Rules designed to contain speeds within a certain range in the interest of safety. For a look at what's different on the cars here, let's go to our Chevy Cutaway car and bring in Tim Brewer. Tim?
Thanks, Alan. Here in Talladega, Alabama, we've got a couple of different aero aspects that we don't normally run. One is the roof deflector. What that does, it makes the car knock a bigger hole in the air so the guys behind you can draft up on you at a little bit quicker rate. Another thing that we've got this gurney on the rear of the spoiler. What that does is plants the back of the car. And anytime you're running 2 and 3 abreast here in Talladega, it makes the cars a lot more stable. Alan?
All right, Tim, thanks. There's Stephen Light driving the 3rd Richard Childress racing car here today. See if he can hook up with his teammates Boyer and Wimmer and finish up front. David Ruderman, our in-race reporter. We will talk with him throughout the day. Lots of fans here enjoying lots of food at Talladega, the NASCAR Nationwide Series getting set to go. Bang, bang. Almost time to go racing at NASCAR's biggest track, the Talladega Superspeedway. We go trackside now for the opening ceremony.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise and remove your hats as the Alabama Army National Guard presents our nation's colors. Please remain standing as Jenny Ellison of Alabama Raceway Ministries offers today's invocation.
Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you so much for this beautiful day you've given to us to go racing. I also thank you for the freedom we have this day and for those who fight for our freedom. Grant us safety and wisdom for this event, and I thank you for all you do for us. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
And now welcome to perform our national anthem, upcoming recording artist, Jamie Wolf.
Can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the
Almost time to go here at Talladega. 36 lead changes in this race last year. Question is, who'll be the leader when it counts the most? That's what all these fans are here to see at Talladega Superspeedway.
Everywhere you look, there's RVs and people in tents and people sleeping in their cars or vans or whatever. They're just diehard race fans, and whether it be the flags or the pyramids, the beer cans or whatever it is. I mean, they're having a really good time. They're pretty hardcore.
ESPN's coverage of the NASCAR Nationwide Series today comes to you from the world's fastest speedway. It's the Aaron's 312, live from Talladega Superspeedway in Alabama. The scene here at Talladega, well, it can be a little wild at times, and that's just the infield. Now the action moves on to this giant 2 2/3 mile track where the racing will be fast, frantic, and furious over the next couple of hours. Engines fire in just about 2 minutes, so let's head upstairs and join Dr. Jerry Punch, Andy Petrie, and Dale Jarrett. Gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Alan. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Talladega. Glad to have you with us. Most of us would agree that normally these drivers who compete inches apart at almost 200 miles per hour are fearless. But here at Talladega on race morning, when you look into their eyes, you see something very different. There is obvious concern. And Dale Jarrett, why are some of the best drivers in the world so worried about what might happen here today?
Well, Jerry, we're here at Talladega, and these drivers know the likelihood of a big crash is highly probable. And it doesn't matter if you're running first or 35th, this big crash doesn't discriminate. You can be involved, and that chance is highly probable that you're going to be a part of something just like this today. These drivers, they are fearless. They're not there concerned about that, but they also know that when you wreck here, you hit hard. And when you hit hard, as safe as these cars are, it's still going to hurt. And, Danny, drivers don't like that.
Yeah, it's not if it's going to happen, but when. And Andy, break it down for us. What causes these violent multi-car crashes?
Well, you would think sometimes it would be the inexperienced drivers, but more times than not, you see veteran drivers making mistakes, like you see right here with Kyle Busch getting turned upside down by a little nudge from Tony Stewart. And then again, this happens on the straightaway a lot of times. You see these guys trying to jockey for position. You see Kenny Wallace gets into the back of Tony Stewart, kind of puts him on his lid on the front stretch. So, these things happen a lot of times with veteran race car drivers.
Things can happen in a hurry at Talladega. Multi-car crashes, so starting spot doesn't make a lot of difference. Remember, Bobby Labonte won this race last year from 34, so everyone's a contender, which makes this race so fun to watch today. Let's go trackside for the command.
And now, for the most famous words in motorsports, please welcome from the Wounded Warrior Project, members Noah Galloway, U.S. Army, Neil Duncan, U.S. Army, Alumni Director Ryan Kelly, Program Manager Ryan Cools, and Executive Vice President of Resources Development, Jeff Searcy.
Gentlemen, start your engines.
Crank them up, gang. Crank them up.
Engines have fired, drivers are cinched up and getting set to go. When we return, we'll visit with our in-race reporter, David Rudiman, driver of the Aaron's Toyota. We'll talk pit strategy with his crew chief, Jerry Baxter, and we'll introduce you to the man who will be his lifeline today. From the roof, high above us here in the tower, his spotter and cousin, Sean Rudiman. All that and more when we come back to Talladega in just a moment.
Just a couple beers. ESPN's coverage of the NASCAR Nationwide Series on ABC. Brought to you by Toyota. Moving forward.
Welcome back to Talladega. Take a look at our starting grid. Two-time NASCAR Sprint Cup champion Tony Stewart picked up his second pole of the year. His first one came at Daytona, and he backed it up with a win in the season opener. Earnhardt Jr. starts 7th, Kyle Busch 8th. And while you watch to see where your favorite driver is starting, let's visit with our in-race reporter, the driver of the Aaron's Toyota, David Rudiman, who starts back in 27th position today.
David, Dale Jarrett, the ESPN. You have a copy?
Yeah, I got you, DJ.
Hey, David, starting in 27th today, what type of strategy might we see you employ at the beginning of today's race in your brightly colored number 99 Toyota?
Yeah, it's definitely bright. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, you know, you have all kinds of scenarios and game plans kind of in place that you think you may, you know, put into play. But when it comes down to it, we try and get in line or try to get closer to the front than what we are, or try to find us a couple guys to work with, and definitely not take any chances this first half for sure.
Okay, David, our second question comes from one of your fans. John in Austin, Texas would like to know, if you could pick any driver, who would be your dream drafting partner?
Well, if I can't have Dale Jarrett, I guess I'm gonna have to go with probably somebody like Tony Stewart, Dale Jr. Those guys who seem to be awful good at working stuff in the draft. Those guys do a good job. But my first choice is Dale Jarrett. But any chances of that ain't happening are probably slim to none, right?
Yeah, I'll send you a check later. Hey, I appreciate it. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you later on, Dave.
All right, man. Thanks, buddy.
Calling his shots for David on pit road today will be veteran crew chief Jerry Baxter. Let's hear from him.
Hey, Jerry Baxter, Andy Petrie up here in ESPN. You got us?
Yeah, Andy, go ahead.
Hey, Jerry, we got a lot of different strategies that are used here at a super speedway like Talladega, different than other tracks. What can we expect to see down there today?
Well, Andy, before I tell you about our strategy with the Aaron's Dream Machine, I had a question for you. I wanted to make sure that you were feeling well and everything. I didn't really see you down in Mexico City last week.
Come on, Jerry. This man can't have a weekend off.
Yeah, it's 10-4. What we're going to do, we're going to have to, you know, being starting in the back like we're doing and everything, we're going to have to, you know, pull some kind of strategy to get them up closer to the front. So the way this tire was wearing during practice, you know, we ran 45, 50 laps. There was no wear, so I'm sure you're going to see a lot of two-tire, no-tire strategies and whatnot.
Thanks a lot, Jerry. You guys have a great race.
Thank you.
Arguably here at Talladega, the most important member of the crew is not on pit road, but rather high above it on the roof in the spotter stand. In David Rudiman's case, it's his cousin Sean who works as his spotter. Let's visit with Sean.
Sean, Dale Jarrett, do you have a copy?
Yeah, 10-4. Go ahead, Dale.
Hey, Sean, we know the spotter's role today is very important. Deals are being made throughout the day. Have you already started making some of those deals?
Yeah, I've been talking to Tyler Green here, Mark Green's son, and working with him, trying to get to the front. Deals are made, deals are broke. Probably last 20 laps, there'll be more wheeling and dealing up here than Las Vegas. So really come the end of the race, you know, everybody tells you they're going to go with you, and then last couple laps is the free-for-all brawl to the front.
All right, you have a great day. Keep your eyes open, and we'll talk to you later on.
Thank you.
Sean has a nice vantage point high above. We'll also give you a vantage point from inside the cars with high-definition onboard cameras. We'll be riding along with Mike Bliss, who equals his best start of the year, second in the Miccosukee Golf Championships Chevy. Dale Earnhardt Jr. starts 7th in the Delphi Chevy, carrying our Chevy in-car camera. Mike Wallace 20th in the Geico Toyota. Greg Biffle starts 15th at City Financial Ford. Kyle Busch, Kenny can keep the string alive, starts 8th in the Z-Line Designs Toyota. K.O. Gale starts 9th in the Camping World Chevrolet. And Brad Keselowski starts 5th in the Navy Chevy. Well, from on the track to high above it, aerial coverage from high above this massive 3,000-acre complex, courtesy of our good friend at Goodyear. For track-tested technology, get there on Goodyear Innovation. Well, it's all about the draft today. We'll have more draft stories, and we'll talk about the politics of the draft after these messages and a word from our ABC stations. Welcome back to Talladega. The Spanish language version of today's race is presented by ESPN Deportes. To access, use the SAP function on your television. All about high speeds and high risks and high drama on the high banks of Talladega. Glad to have you with us at the world's fastest stock car facility. Folks, buckle up and hold on as Tony Stewart and Mike Bliss will lead him down side by side. NASCAR's finest about to be turned loose here at Talladega. This is a 117-lap race, 312 miles, but right now these drivers got to be thinking about that weather is threatening, and a lot of guys believe we may be racing to the lap 59 mark at halfway.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to waste much time getting into the racing mode right here. That's what this promotes, this type of racetrack. These cars are very, very equal, and we're going to see just who really understands the draft today, Andy.
Yeah, with that threat of weather shortening the race, you might not see a lot of these guys taking their time and being as patient as we'd normally see if they felt like they had the whole race to work themselves into position. When you see these guys trying to line up on the inside, it looks like they're getting a little bit of an advantage.
Looking back at the 88 car, we were talking this morning about who could be some of the sleepers here today. And DJ, you said this kid, Brad Keselowski, could be one to watch.
Yeah, this young man's been very impressive so far this year. He has a fast race car. We saw that in practice the other day. And I really believe that he's learned enough already about this drafting. And he has a good boss to learn from, too. Now, I'm sure he and Dale Jr. have sat down and talked about this very thing.
18 car backsliding there, lost out of the draft. That is Kyle Busch.
He's got his hand out the window like he may have some kind of problem. He wants to go to the back and try to get out of this group for some reason. You can see his hand out the window waving to these guys so they can just get around him. And it looks like, see right there, his hand's out there. He must have some kind of problem.
Yeah, it's certainly not his style to drop back. We wouldn't expect that, but you just don't know. It may be a situation that he feels comfortable in doing that. Maybe it's a pit window type situation that they want to save a little fuel at the beginning. You just don't know what these guys have in mind, so we'll be checking on that.
Up front, the 20 car, his teammate Tony Stewart. 38 is Leffler. Then comes Keselowski and his boss right behind him, the 5 car of Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Let's see these two teammates working together and see if they can get by these Toyotas. Boy, get a big bump out of the 88 into Jason Leffler to the 38.
More on Keselowski, Mike.
Well, Doc, I had an interesting conversation with his crew chief, Tony Eury Sr. this morning. He reflected a little bit back on his days with DEI. He said in the early days, Dale Earnhardt Sr. would have a meeting, kind of an informal meeting on Monday nights, just at a picnic table, shooting the breeze. They used to call it Monday Night Thunder. During one of those informal conversations, Dale Sr. revealed the many secrets of restrictor plate racing. Those secrets, Tony Eury says, he has incorporated into the body of this particular race car. There's secrets he used at DEI that allowed that team to dominate at places like Talladega over the years, and he expects that'll help Keselowski today. Dave?
Mike, must be some good secrets at Braun Racing as well. Talk to the guy who manages both the 32 team for Denning Hamlin and the 38 of Jason Leffler. That is Todd Lose, who used to crew chief these cars. Asked him if they changed anything after they qualified third at Daytona earlier this year. He said nothing. They qualified third again. They just need to close the deal. They've started their restrictor plate races well. They need to finish them well. Doc?
There's a look at the Toyota camp there for Jason Leffler, the 38 car, as Leffler hanging on Paul Wolfe, the crew chief there calling the shots. And guys, the 5 car, Dale Earnhardt Jr. got up high in the draft and just went backwards.
Yeah, you could see it. And actually, as Mike Massaro started on there, you could hear Junior come out of the throttle a little bit right in the tri-oval, and he was trying not to get too much on to Brad Keselowski there. And when he did, he had to go ahead and kind of pull out. I think he felt like he had a big enough push from behind, but that wasn't there at that time. And this is what happened. We'll see him back up towards the front here in just a minute.
It seems to me like there's a little something going on because usually that high lane is good at Talladega. Right now, we see anybody that goes in that high lane is going straight back.
More on Earnhardt Jr. from Shannon.
Yeah, Doc, over the radio, Dale Earnhardt Jr. spotter just came over and said, "Don't worry, help is a-coming." Now, I spoke with Chad Walters, crew chief, this weekend, and he told me that this weekend has been as seamless on a super speedway as it possibly be. He said that they've been happy with their car since the moment they rolled off the track. In fact, they didn't even attend final practice this week. He said they have an unfair advantage here this weekend, and that is what they call the E-gene. And that, of course, is for Earnhardt.
Exactly, Shannon. You saw Earnhardt make that move. Looked like the 6 car David Reagan had thrown an anchor out where Earnhardt went by him in the draft, trying to get a little drafting help to get that high line back where he wants it to be.
Wow, you see these guys really jockeying for position, and I think if these guys could get organized in that outside lane, it would start coming back to the front.
Yeah, it usually, the first couple of laps of the race, the bottom side is the shortest way around until these other cars can get lined up and get themselves in order there and stay that way for a couple of laps. Then they can start marching back towards the front. But they all seem pretty eager right now. They're not really being patient with one another, and it's going to be more difficult for them to line up and come back towards the front of the pack.
A little bit of contact there. Marcus Ambrose in front of the 5 car as they have lost about 18 or 19 positions. There is Earnhardt Jr.'s onboard camera. He is a 6-time winner at Talladega, 5 times in the Cup car and once in the Nationwide cars. You saw good move by Stephen Wallace, 66, to make the pass.
How about Morgan Shepherd coming up behind Dale Earnhardt Jr. here in this 89 car? Great run for Morgan. Look at these guys, man, coming up that outside lane. 3-4 wide.
That's why the fans love it here. 3 wide, over 188 miles an hour, inches apart. And look, Tony Stewart's not that far ahead of him.
No, you're not going to lose this draft. You know, you're going to be able to get lined back up and go. And as we can see right now, actually the middle is working. And with these type cars, with this type of aero package, that middle is a place that these guys will look to go to make some time.
That middle used to be a place you did not want to be, but with this package, it does seem like that is a hole that is created. That middle lane can really suck up to the front.
Yesterday, Brad Keselowski told me in the garage area, he said, I have a rocket. He said, my car is actually better than my boss's car, the 5 car. Which means I better get the job done today. Right now, Keselowski trying to hang on and maybe get by Tony Stewart to lead the lap.
Brad Keselowski's car does look stronger than Dale Earnhardt's car or Junior's car right now. Look at him taking the lead, trying to take the lead away from Tony Stewart.
It'll just be a matter if he has that experience of what to do when you get up there. There's more than just having a fast car and going up there and driving by these guys. Even if you have that help behind you, you have to side draft off these cars and know exactly what you can do, where you can do that to slow that car down.
DJ, what makes one driver a better drafter than another?
Well, I think you just have to understand what the air does to the car. And a lot of that is experience, and a lot of that Dale Earnhardt Jr. has, he got from his dad, who was, I think, the master at this type of racing. Obviously, if you can have a good car, it helps you to learn that a lot better because you can do things like that. But once you understand that as you're trying to make those passes, it's not just sheer horsepower or that drafting or that bump drafting. It's that you've got to get the air to affect that car that you're trying to pass.
And right now, you see this 88 car up front with Brad Keselowski. He's going to learn some things right here about how to win the race, because if you're going to win this thing, more times than not, it's from the front, and you've got to learn how to keep that guy behind you. It's the best time in the world for Brad Keselowski to learn how to do that.
Yeah, right at this point, he's going to need to use up and use that drafting partner that he has behind him to his benefit, as we see Stephen Light come to the outside of his teammate Scott Wimmer right now.
Stephen Light in the 21 car for Richard Childress Racing, making only his 4th start of the year. And boy, is Richard Childress high on this kid from Asheville, North Carolina. That 21, he said, oh, can't get a sponsor to buy it because they said it doesn't have a lot of experience. So guess what? We're going to put him in cars and get him the experience. And if this kid does what I think he'll do, Childress said he could be in Cup in about a year.
And they've got a guy right behind him that knows a lot about drafting, and that's Mike Wallace. He does a tremendous job at these racetracks. He's got a good race car, and that's someone that you really can watch all day long. That'll be a factor in this race before it's over. We see Junior already starting to press the issue here. I would look for him to maybe jump to the bottom right away. He's in the middle right now, but there he goes. He's got that push from behind him. He's making that middle work.
About 4 wide, courtesy of Dale Earnhardt Jr. Now back to 3 wide, Dave.
And for a moment there, Mike Wallace was the big helper there in the middle of that pack. He's dropping back just through the middle a little bit right now. His crew chief, Bruce Cook, told me this morning, Mike Wallace is someone who knows restrictor plate racing. We know that as well. But when Bruce took over as crew chief, he said, I'm not sure I gave him enough credit for how much he knows on these big super speedways. There were years when Mike Wallace didn't run the entire schedule, but he still ran restrictor plate races. And that base of knowledge, that wealth of information, they've taken advantage of this weekend. And they think by the end of this race, they'll have a pretty good spot in this group.
Trouble on the racetrack. The 40 of Dario Franchitti has had contact debris off of one car.
Are you all clear? You okay?
Looked like we saw a tire explode right in the middle of this pack and maybe cause this big wreck. I don't know if that comes from just incidental contact, but you definitely saw some tire debris flying.
Yeah, first caution of the day, lap number 10. Franchitti involved, the 91 of Larry Gunzelman involved. There's the carcass of what's left, all heavy damage on the left side of that Dodge. And there's the points leader, Clint Boyer.
You know, we see this close racing, and at times it gets even closer than what we see. There's actually rubbing that takes place. And these cars have very little fender clearance anyway, and you build them to go fast, and so you don't give much clearance. So you said you thought you saw a tire explode there, and that could very well be from a tire rub.
We're watching this from high above, trying to figure out exactly what happened. And you can see Dario Franchitti looks like he loses a tire getting into the corner and triggers this wreck.
Now watch his car come around right down in front of traffic. Some cars really had nowhere to go. There's the 91 coming along. That is Larry Gunzelman. Hard impact in the left side, again looking down the backstretch.
Yeah, right there you can see that tire completely exploding. And I would imagine that happened from some kind of a contact, maybe into the left rear, knocked the valve stem out, or maybe cut the sidewall of the tire. Oh, man, that's a hard lick right there.
Yeah, and they're sailing down the backstretch at over 185 miles an hour. Dario Franchitti comes down, and DJ, how tough is it to control a car like the 91 car at these speeds when you got like the left side tires on the grass?
Yeah, you've got a lot of smoke, and you're just, you're going, your spotter tells you to go low because the other car is up on top of the racetrack, and by that time you don't have really much chance to miss the car when it comes right down in front of you. So we see Clint Boyer going behind the wall to make the necessary changes and fix the repairs that they need to get back out.
You worry so much about what happens at Talladega. We talked about the concern, and you see it in the driver's eyes when the race starts about running so close together, wide open. And now here at lap number 10, we have caution for the first time today. Let's go down to pit road and Shannon.
Well, great pit stop for Dale Earnhardt just in time. He's running a little bit hot, so they're going to take some tape off the front of that grill. They're also going to make a track bar adjustment. No tires, gas only. Dave.
And Tony Stewart in, he said he ran over some debris, wants 4 tires, air pressure adjustment on all 4s, says the car is quick, they're filling it up with fuel. Tony Stewart led the first 7 laps, guys, working hard on that 20 car. He's down and away.
First pit stop of the day here at Talladega under caution. Debris, you heard Jamie say, for the 20 car. They took tape off, made a track bar adjustment for Dale Earnhardt Jr. He will lose 3 spots in the pits. Greg Biffle and Dario Franchitti being helped out of his car, and will be headed to the infield care center. We will update you on Dario as soon as we can. Under caution for the first time at Talladega Superspeedway today, lap number 10, hard impact in turn 3. You're watching ESPN on ABC. Welcome back to the Aaron's 312 at Talladega. Next week, the Nationwide Series moves to the action track for race number 11 of 35. Richmond International Raceway hosts the next Nationwide Series race at the track they call Racing Perfection, the 49th Richmond Nationwide Series event held dating back to 1982. 250 laps, 187 miles. It's nationwide action at Richmond. Coverage begins at 7 o'clock Eastern on ESPN2. Cars being carried back to the garage. One already in the garage, which is our points leader, Clint Boyer. Let's update his situation. Dave.
And Doc, this is of course a critical weekend at a track where so many surprises can happen. Dan Deeringhoff at the front of the car, their crew chief directing the repair efforts on here. They think they can get it done and back out of there, but everything's got to be straight. He's got to be able to run the minimum speed and get back in this racetrack. They came in with just a slim points lead. They need to get back out there and earn the valuable points that they can. Clint sitting just nearby will try to get a word with him before he goes back out.
Only a 9-point margin for Boyer over Edwards coming in, and now he's involved in the first big crash of the day, trying to hurriedly make repairs. We just joined our coverage. You worry about the wrecks here, the speeds, the close quarters, and has bitten the field early. Lap number 10 coming down the backstretch. Watch Dario Franchitti left side of your screen in the 40 car.
Yeah, the right rear tire just exploded on the car. And he's just a passenger right here, and all these guys are running so close together, nowhere to go. And you know, you got a lot of speed. These guys, you don't think about it. I mean, you do, but you almost don't appreciate the speed that these cars run here.
Sometimes it's a false sense of security of just how fast you're going. And as I said, when you make that one move, as we can see Dario being loaded onto the stretcher here, you make that one move, and it's not like you can just slam on the brakes then and the car's going to stop because you're still carrying a lot of speed.
Reigning Indy Racing League champion and Rookie of the Year contender Dario Franchitti was helped moments ago into the ambulance air. We'll update his condition momentarily. But let's talk about safety in these cars when you have that kind of impact. So we head down to our Chevy cutaway car and Tim Brewer.
Jerry, exactly right. Hey, you got to give the NASCAR people a pretty good shout out because these nationwide cars, they're the old cars, but the bars did themselves a good job right here. The COT car, they've got foam over here and we're protected a little bit more, but the car did its job. The other vulnerable area right here, the bar, the foot. The foot probably went over, hit the clutch pedal or bounced off one of the bars in here because we've seen him limping just a little bit. But Jerry, we talked about that last week in a conference call. The feet, that's a very, very vulnerable area. Jerry?
And Tim, NASCAR is looking at bringing a lot of the other innovations for the car of tomorrow. Do you see exactly in the left side there, the opening where the contact was with the 91 car of Larry Gunzelman at probably 180 plus miles an hour. And let's talk a little about risk versus reward, guys. There are 12 drivers in this race today, Dario Franchitti being one of them, Clint Bowyer another, that are also running full-time in the NASCAR Sprint Cup. 7 of the top 10 Sprint Cup points contenders are in this race today. Andy, I know you were pretty vocal last year as a former Cup owner. You wouldn't have been very happy about that.
Well, I was one of the guys that probably wouldn't mind seeing the guys racing every week. I think it's good for the guys to race a lot. But if there's one track that I would not want my star in the race, it'd probably be at Talladega, because these kinds of things can happen so easily. And when they do, they can be devastating. We saw that car there. It was tore up pretty bad.
Well, we'll get DJ to answer in a moment. Let's check on the pit stop for Kyle Busch. Mike.
And, Doc, a little bit of a fuel game being played by Jason Ratcliffe and the 18 team. They wanted to wait until there was one lap to go before they came down pit road. Kyle pretty happy with the race car. You did see him get out of line, but that's only because he wanted to get out of the mix and drop to the back of the field. 4 tires and a can of Sunoco race fuel. They have a little bit of a problem here, but it's not going to cost them because they were going to pick up at the back of the field anyway.
Thanks, Mike. Now, DJ, we saw the 18 car at the top of the show pull a move that we've seen you do before. Back to your last win, you did it at the very beginning of the race. We saw Kyle Busch dropping back from the front toward the back to find a comfortable place to ride.
Yeah, you know, sometimes we're competitors and drivers, and you don't necessarily want to do that. You're here to race, but you're here to win and give yourself a chance to win. And I've seen a couple of different interviews, and it's impressed me, this young man. I wasn't sure that he would do it because he is such a hard racer, but I saw Kyle Busch say a couple of times, they asked him about not having a good record here at Talladega. He said, you know, it's not that I don't know how to drive or don't run well here, I don't finish well. So I think what he's looking for is just to get to the end of the race and give himself a chance to win this race. It's a different type of strategy. It's not for everyone, but it looks like Kyle is employing that right now.
It looked to me like he's always very, very aggressive, and he has been here. And maybe he just took a page out of your book because he's seen how good that you've done with that, that particular strategy here.
Well, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, but it'll be interesting to follow his progress throughout the day.
Kyle Busch has 6 DNFs, did not finish here among his combined Cup and Nationwide Series starts. So 6 out of 10 times he's been here, he has failed to finish. And as you said, DJ, maybe he's going to try to change that luck today by dropping back and taking care of the car and staying away from the big one.
Now, going back to Dario Franchitti and talking about the risk-reward a little bit, I think in Dario's case, he's someone that needed to be in these cars here, racing today, getting that experience. Even though he has experience with the draft, nothing like what it is with these cars. So I think that's a great idea. And I always looked at it as a driver, Andy. If I had sponsorship, I wanted to go race and try to become a better racer.
We will update you about Dario. You saw him being helped from the car into the ambulance, awake and alert. We'll try to get an update as soon as we can. Meanwhile, we're going to go back to Green Flag Racing at Talladega. Brad Keselowski driving for the United States Navy on the side of that car, owned by Dale Earnhardt Jr. Lap 17 coming up to speed. Jason Leffler looking for the outside and trying to get some drafting help, and will get some from his teammate, Denny Hamlin. Those are team cars, by the way, the 38 and 32.
I'm not sure how much patience we're going to see from these guys early on. As we know, weather is in the area, and I think they believe they need to get out front. They want to lead lap, get the bonus points, or just get themselves in a position to where they can make that pass or be right there as this race gets closer to halfway.
I have to think that this weather is figuring in some of these guys' decisions. We saw that 18 car come down pit road to get some fuel right there. It's a last-minute thing, and maybe they're trying to open up a window that they think might be for rain, and they would be able to go a little longer than these guys.
If you're watching at home and wondering why these drivers will go down to that yellow line and do not go below it, because NASCAR is pretty adamant about what you can and can't do on the bottom side of the racetrack here at Talladega.
Yeah, not only are they adamant, it's a rule. You can't go below there. You can't even take a tire down below that yellow line and advance your position. If you do, you're going to have to come through for a pass-through penalty if you advance that position. So you might see somebody look down there, but if they know the rule and understand it, then they're not going to advance that position. And this is something that took place a few years ago, as we had a lot of times cars trying to make a pass at the end of the back straightaway or at the end of the front straightaway, and then you run out of racing room and just creates a big mess.
That is one rule that is unique to Daytona and Talladega only. You can go below that line at any other racetrack we race at, but they do that here just for safety, because we were seeing some crazy moves that people were making below those lines.
Top 6 cars were single file until a moment ago, and now it's a little Little team Toyota tactics there. Looks like Denny Hamlin wants to become one of the new leaders today. We've had 5 lead changes, 5 different leaders. Hamlin trying to get by Jason Leffler to take that spot away.
It looked like the Denny Hamlin, that 32 car, had some momentum and didn't have anything to do with it. He had to find somewhere to go.
That's perfect, Andy. You're exactly right. You get that momentum, you push that car to the front, he's sucking you up with him, and you have that momentum. All of a sudden, you want to fan out. You don't want to come out of the throttle just to sit there. You want to try to go, and now Denny finds himself on the outside looking for some drafting help, and he's got some pretty good help coming to him right now. So if they'll stay in line, they'll be back up at the front in probably a lap and a half.
Denny Hamlin is there. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is there, as is Tony Stewart in that high line trying to draft back up there. Meanwhile, they scatter now again 3 wide. Folks, welcome to Talladega NASCAR style. Whoops, a little bit of contact in the back and another car in the wall. That is Scott Wimmer in the 29 car. He has got some contact.
Now, caution's out.
Looked like we saw him 5 wide back in the pack getting into turn 1, and that's never a recipe for success getting into that corner.
Now, you know, when they repaved this racetrack, it made the whole racetrack so smooth, and these guys get that idea that you can just race anywhere because you can, but at some point in time, you're going to run out of a little bit of room, and we'll see exactly what happens to Scott here. He's in the 3rd car of 4 wide, and actually, as you said, Andy, they get 5 wide right here.
Inside of the 66, right over in front.
That's a tire.
41, yeah, tire had an issue with Wimmer.
There was no contact whatsoever. We just assumed they got 5 wide and got together, but that was actually a tire that let go. Looks like the right front.
And, you know, there again, it could be a situation that did he get into someone earlier with that right front and rub? Because these things are happening way too early for it to be a tire issue. This is something that's happening either from a rub or running over something on the racetrack.
Yeah, we're only talking about 2 or 3 laps into a restart here. That's no way that would be a tire issue, like you say, with durability. But these guys, I've heard, are doing some crazy things with tire pressures, and you know, to try to go fast here, maybe that's causing some problems.
Scott Wimmer told us Thursday this place has never been very good to him. In 4 previous starts here, his best finish is 28th back in 2002. He has 3 DNFs and 4 trips to Talladega. Lucky dog, well, it was lucky for one driver. Justin Ashburn out of Tennessee gets the free pass. He was the first driver a lap down, and he will get back on the lead lap courtesy of the Aaron's Lucky Dog free pass. More from Talladega in just a moment. Welcome back to Talladega, under caution for the 2nd time today. Aerial coverage provided by our good friends at Goodyear. For track-tested technology, get there on Goodyear Innovation. This caution flag coming out on lap number 19. The 29 car of Scott Wimmer having contact in the wall, having a tire issue. And there are some of the shreds down there. We want to update, by the way, Dario Franchitti, who had that hard impact in the first caution, is being transported to a local hospital for further evaluation. Again, Dario Franchitti, you saw him awake and alert out of the car and put on a stretcher. He's being transported to a local hospital for further evaluation. We'll try to update you as the information becomes available. While we are under yellow, good chance to maybe talk with our in-race reporter and try to find out what's going on with some of these cars. We've seen some problems maybe with some tires. Is it tire pressure related, Andy?
Well, we'll try to catch up with Jerry Baxter and see if he can give us some insight. Hey, Jerry Baxter, Andy Petrie, you got us?
Yeah, Andy, go ahead.
Hey, Jerry, I was hearing some rumors last night of some crazy high tire pressures that some of these guys are running. Could that be factoring in with some of these failures that we've seen here in these couple of cautions that we've got?
You know, I suppose it could be. I heard a few people were running pretty high on the qualifying pressures and whatnot, but I mean, I'm running my car at minimum and run about 50 laps that way yesterday or the day before, and I didn't see any tire issues at all. So I really don't understand why they'd be doing that, but I know one thing will cause tire failures is that sheet metal hitting it.
Yeah, we've kind of speculated that maybe it's contact, but it's just kind of crazy. We've had a couple of them in a row here. Just wanted to check in and see what you thought. Thanks for helping us.
All right, 10-4.
Now, the Goodyear engineers do give these teams recommended pressures they should follow for the tires, a minimum and maximum. And, of course, they ask the teams to follow the pressures, and some of them do and do not. Now, we're not speculating that's what the issue was. We'll try to update what happened. But obviously a right front tire for Scott Wimmer, and he was in the wall. Under caution here now for the 2nd time today at Talladega. Welcome back to Talladega Superspeedway under caution for the second time today here in the Aaron's 312 NASCAR Nationwide Series event. Jason Leffler is our leader. It is Leffler, Keselowski, Denny Hamlin, Greg Biffle, and David Reutimann. Now let's show you how Leffler was able to get the lead by using our draft track.
You see these guys here, they're running second and third behind Brad Keselowski in this 88 car, and they just get locked up, I mean, nose to tail, all but touching, and actually touching. And you see how when they get in that draft lock, how much speed that they can gain over it. They're going 5 miles an hour faster than Brad right here at the end of the straightaway.
Yeah, between that air, the two of them working together with the air and the bump drafting there, the help got Jason Leffler to the front. But that's a perfect example of exactly what happens and how you use the draft.
And these teams have been made aware, and as have the drivers, that there is weather in the area. The green flag waving again for Leffler in the 38 car. By the way, it's his 5th time to race here. He has never led until this race. Trying to hold on, and remember, the halfway point is lap 59. The teams are being told by virtue of weather radars from NASCAR that weather could be about a half an hour out.
See Denny Hamlin jumping up to the outside right away here. All by himself, and is able to make a little ground on the 88 car, Brad Keselowski.
A little pushing and shoving back, and not that they were going to be patient anyway, DJ, but these guys are in a hurry now, knowing that we could have some rain on the way, trying to get there. Here's Greg Biffle.
Yeah, they got hooked up pretty fast there, and actually were doing some pretty serious bump drafting down the straightaway. Denny Hamlin tried to pull out and make that move to the outside, but he got no help going with him. But he's still not in a bad spot right now. I know he's fallen back and he's lost probably 10 or 12 spots there, but if he gets the right person on his bumper, he'll be back towards the front in just a couple of laps.
Get a little help from the drafting partner, from Stephen Wallace in the 66 car.
How about DJ Kennington, this 81 car on the outside lane trying to move up? He's actually one of the boys in this mix.
Tony Stewart there in the 20 car right in front of Stephen Wallace and right to the outside of Dale Earnhardt Jr. More on Tony with Jamie.
Well, Doc, in that last round of pit stops, you know, some drivers took tires, others didn't. Tony Stewart, one of those that opted to err on the cautious side. This is what he said on the radio.
Out there, guys. We'll be fine here. I'd rather, after that tire deal we had the other day, I'd rather we ran through, make sure we don't take any chances here early. Oh, there's not a soul down here worried about it, bud. We're just going to watch the show. Well, find someplace comfortable then. It'll be coming.
And the reason Tony said he didn't want to take chances was in practice they blew a right front. If you remember back the last 2 races, blown a tire and took him out of contention. So they're erring on the cautious side right now, guys. It's paying off. He's making a charge to the front.
Jamie, that practice was the final session of practice here on Thursday afternoon when Tony Stewart had the tire issue, and Reed Sorensen was involved. The 41 car of Kyle Krisiloff had to go to a backup car, so that's made these guys a little bit gun shy.
Yeah, and you can't blame them for that. They're doing the right thing. As we see, Tony has led this outside line up to the front. We see Denny Hamlin getting back there, Mike Bliss going around on the outside. So you get a fast car like Tony has. Carl Edwards was right on his bumper, Junior was right on his, and they made the draft work perfectly to get themselves where they want to be, and that's right up front.
Yeah, we were seeing early in the race that you didn't want to be in that outside lane. But I think if you get the right cars up there, like Tony Stewart, he's got a fast car, and once you get that organized, it can really work for you up there.
Watching these guys battle up front, what about the NASCAR Nationwide Series points leader, Clint Bowyer, who was involved in that first incident, his car back in the garage? Let's check in with Dave.
And we can put an addendum on it for when the day started, Doc. So that's no longer the case as they run like right now. This car has dropped to second in the championship points. Clint has jumped back in. The car has been working on the right front of that car. They thought they had it fixed, but when they dropped it back down, the clearances weren't there. The tire was going to touch that wheel well. We've already seen the problems that can cause. So they've been working hard on it, sawing, welding, and they think they've got him just about ready to re-enter the track.
When the day began, thanks Dave, when the day began, Bowyer had a 9-point lead over Carl Edwards. And now Bowyer back in the garage area in the 2 car being shown laps down. The leader still in the garage area. He's being shown some 14 laps behind. And that will adjust the points to there. Now he's being shown 121 points back of Edwards with Kyle Busch just another 24 back of him.
See Denny Hamlin still, he's probably the hardest working driver on the racetrack right now.
I just looked at that, Andy. You know he's got a good race car because he's able to help these guys get to the front. And what happens there is his car is fast enough, he's able to stay with the car in front of him to give him that boost all the way. Sometimes you can just get that push down the straightaway, and then the car will jump out in front of you, and then you're just wasting time as you try to get hooked back up together. But Denny's car is fast enough to stay hooked on to the cars that he's been behind and to help them get to the front.
Mike?
Well, Doc, we've talked about the politics of the draft, and it appears some of those politics may have betrayed Denny Hamlin. You know, if you get out of line like we saw just a few laps ago, you can easily get sucked right back like an 800 horsepower vacuum cleaner. Right now, not happy at all with Jason Leffler. He thought because he's also in the Toyota camp, he might have given him some help. He didn't, and right now, he might be holding a grudge. We'll pay attention to that as this race wears on.
Mike, speaking of needing some help, 22 seconds ago, the 60 car was in second spot, and now they have gone blowing by Carl Edwards. They beating the 5 car of Dale Earnhardt Jr., his good friend Tony Stewart, as they are just about, I don't think you can get a fingernail between those cars.
If he keeps bump drafting through this corner, I think it'll strain that friendship a little bit. That can cause some problems with this bump drafting through the corner.
Yeah, you have to be extremely careful, but you got 2 very experienced guys there. Tony Stewart, who has a lot of car control. He can really handle that right through there. Dale Jr. has a very fast car, and he knows what to do with it, so he's not hitting him too hard. Shannon?
Yeah, well, earlier in the race, Dale Earnhardt Jr. was battling with some overheating issues. So far, so good. The car has gotten back down to the temperature level that they're comfortable with. Now, Dale Jr. announced this week that he's adding another race to his schedule. He's actually going to race at Lowe's Motor Speedway in another one of his cars. So Dale Jr. Motorsports will field 3 cars in that race. Jimmy Johnson will be in the 5 car, Dale Earnhardt Jr. in the 83, Brad Keselowski in the 88. Quite a lineup, and guys, it will be Lance McCrew on top of the pit box for Jr. in that race.
Thank you for the update there, Shannon. Dale Earnhardt Jr. scheduling on running 8 races, now make it 9. And look at the high line again now coming back, and the draft sort of comes and goes, I guess, depending upon how much help you got here.
Yeah, you're needing help. And Denny Hamlin seems to get these people to the front, and then they leave him hanging. I can understand him getting a little bit upset. You do that as drivers, but you really just have to put it aside and forget about it.
Tony Stewart, the 20 car, the 5 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. Jason Leffler, the full-time NASCAR Nationwide Series driver. How about Mike Bliss in the 1 car? Only the 4th race he has run now for James Finch, and doing a heck of a job in that 1.
That 1 car is really coming around. Like I said, qualified 2nd. That's extremely, it shows you how much strength that the team has when you can do that. And he's hanging right in there with these guys.
Yeah, I was interested to see, you know, that James Finch has always had a good restrictor plate program. They produce very good cars. I was interested to see how Mike Bliss would handle that situation, and I thought he would handle exactly the way that he is, being able to do that, being up front. So it'll be interesting as we get down to the end of the day to see if he knows the moves to make and if he's got enough friends out there to help him get to the very front.
Here's the 1 car we're talking about, Mike Bliss, the car owned by James Finch. They have Hendrick Motorsports engines. They got lots of horsepower, lots of ponies under the hood there, and you got to have that to get it done at Talladega. 1 car being shown now in 4th position. By the way, the 2 car, Clint Boyer, who was the points leader, back on the racetrack, and they black flagged him because he entered the track improperly. He'll have to come back to pit road. Well, at Daytona, it was Tony Stewart who was showing the way. And then Kyle Busch and Dale Earnhardt Jr. was in the chase. But here at Talladega, it is Stewart and Jr. again, this time 1-2. You're watching ESPN on ABC.
The first round of the NBA playoffs continues on ESPN with 2 more games tonight. First at 8 Eastern, Kevin Garnett and the Boston Celtics meet the Atlanta Hawks in Game 3 of their series. The Green leading that one 2-0. Then at 10:30 Eastern, the nightcap, Tracy McGrady and the Houston Rockets take on Carlos Boozer and the Utah Jazz. In Game 3, Jazz leading that one 2-1. First round of the NBA playoffs, ESPN tonight, your NBA destination. We continue under green here at Talladega Superspeedway in the Aaron's 312. Tony Stewart, Dale Earnhardt Jr. continue to be the top 2 guys. Couple of cautions already in the event, Brad. Kind of event-filled so far. and we still haven't seen the big one.
No, Alan, we've seen a couple of individual scrapes, but I think what happens is the day go on, and everyone who's been here for a number of years knows that it's the guys' patience that start to wear thin and create that opportunity for the big one. So as time goes on, and as we get closer to that 59 lap mark, I think you're going to see that opportunity for the big one to occur a little bit more frequently.
And the reason lap 59 important today, that's the halfway mark of the race. The weather radar shows us there are showers scattered around Alabama if one should hit the speedway after this race has crossed the lap 59 mark. And NASCAR doesn't feel they can get the track dried before they'll lose daylight. No lights at the speedway. Then they could call this an official race, and so things will get a little more urgent as we close in on the midway point of the event. Other storyline of the day, championship leader coming in, Clint Bowyer in the garage after getting caught up in an early tangle back at lap number 10. He is back on the speedway, but he is well behind, being shown in 40th place, 22 laps down. So it's Stewart and Earnhardt Jr. at the head of the pack as we go back up to the head of the grandstands. Top of the stairs, Dr. Jerry Punch, Andy Petrie, and Dale Jarrett.
Thank you, Alan. A lot of young drivers really doing some impressive jobs here. Give a call to young 20-year-old Stephen Wallace. Now, coming off his career first top 10 at Mexico City last week. There's Stephen in the 66 car. He came all the way from 25th starting spot and is now holding to 6th position, doing a heck of a job.
He really is, Jerry. I've been watching him a lot away from the camera, and he's resisting that temptation to jump out of that line. He knows that those where the fast guys are. Tony Stewart, Dale Earnhardt Jr., he's got Greg Biffle right in front of him. He knows that's where he needs to be, and as easy as it would be for him to jump out of there and try to go to the front, he knows that he would only probably go backwards. He's not going to get a lot of help being a young driver here, but he's got himself in a really good position with Kelly Byers right behind him doing a great job, and Brad Coleman right behind him. So these guys are doing a terrific job as Brad Coleman goes to the front. With guess who? Denny Hamlin pushing him. There's another guy who's pushed to the front. We'll see what happens as they get there now.
Shannon, you can add on the 66.
Yeah, Doc, I spoke with Stephen Wallace today and asked him about this race. And, since the start of the season, Stephen Wallace has really been trying to practice patience. So much so that most of the season he's had a sticker inside of his car that simply stated, "Think smart." Well, thinking smart is certainly going to come in handy for Stephen Wallace today. He told me that his plan was to get through the field, get up to the front. He said it's simple. I just have to stay out of the crash. Sounds pretty simple, huh? Not always so here at Talladega, but we also did ask Stephen Wallace about his draft pick for today, staying in line with the draft theme, and here's what he had to say.
My #1 draft pick would be David Stremme in the other H-Reese Home Chevrolet Monte Carlo because he's my teammate, and if I don't draft him, I think I'd be in a lot of trouble. So, but we drafted a little bit for yesterday, and I felt like my car ran real good behind his, so I think it'll be good, good draft pick.
That would be his teammate, David Stremme. Right now, he's trying to hang on to the 1 car. Mike Bliss, he's got reigning champion Carl Edwards right behind him. Got a little bit of a push from the champion, trying to hang in the top 7 or 8 in the draft.
Really got to use patience at this point of the race because these cars are going to come and go. You're going to see different leaders. We saw Brad Coleman get the lead, and then instantly 4 or 5 guys lined up, and they decided how long he was going to lead the race. They just said, okay, we're going by. We're going to line up and go by you. That's going to happen all day long.
Yeah, he had a big push from Denny Hamlin getting to the front, but then Tony Stewart and Dale Jr. decided that they didn't like that scenario. They went right back by him and sent him going towards the back. But as we get back to Stephen Wallace, he's held steady right there. These cars started fanning out, and it's really easy to get excited during that point, especially as a young driver here. You're like, oh my gosh, I got to get up there and take advantage of that run that they have going on the outside. As we see Dale Jr. once again pushing Tony Stewart down through the tri-oval and getting a little bit of space from the rest of the car. But these guys, if they stay in line and show that patience that you were talking about, then they can come out of here with a really good finish today.
Dodge of Justin Ashburn, the 57 car, headed to the garage area for repair, so that will put him behind the wall. We have had 6 different leaders, 10 lead changes. Tony Stewart has led 3 times for 22 laps, and here's the 24 car spinning. That will bring out a yellow flag, Eric McClure. Bring out.
Get it running, we can stay on the lead lap. Come on. Tires down. Good four, blew out a left rear.
It looks like the left rear tire might be up, but the right side tires are both flat.
Yeah. He's got both of those flat, so he'll need to get to pit road. Be as careful as he can get in there because we've seen these tires come apart, and that creates more damage. He obviously doesn't have any right there at this point in time.
Eric McClure bringing out caution for the 3rd time today on lap 43. There's Eric driving for Bob Jenkins, a Tennessee owner in the fast food business up in Tennessee. We'll show you again what happened to Eric.
Yeah, it looks like he may have had a tire go down and probably got it slowed down a good bit before he had this spin. That's why we didn't see any damage.
Eric, the son of Jerry McClure of the famous Morgan McClure Brothers racing team. Over the years that Ernie Irvan and others won with. Adjusting some air pressures now in the pits.
Yeah, we see a NASCAR official kind of overseeing this. Maybe the officials are checking to see what these guys really are running for tire pressure. They have minimum tire pressures, but they don't have a maximum.
43 laps in. Remember, 59 laps is halfway. Andy, how often did that happen when you were crew chief? Did they actually come down and monitor your air pressures that often?
No, when I was doing it, they didn't. We could run anything we wanted to, but when we started doing some crazy things, that's when NASCAR had to get involved.
Yeah, they have to stay on top of these things, and it's going to be an interesting pit sequence here to see who gets tires. We're getting closer to that halfway point, so who's going to get tires or who's just going to get fuel? And people like Tony Stewart that got tires last time, will they opt to leave those on there?
If I'm Tony Stewart's crew chief, I'll go ahead and get 4 tires right here because I've seen that car and Tony been able to go straight to the front. I don't think track position is that critical right now, especially.
Scott Wimmer, the 29 car, the damaged Richard Childress Chevy, is our lucky dog, the Aaron's Lucky Dog Free Pass Award winner. He will get back on the lead lap, and that will put us now with 34 cars on the lead lap as we are 43 laps in. Under caution for the 3rd time today, the spinning number 24 of Eric McClure brought the yellow out. Tony Stewart, Dale Earnhardt Jr., Jason Leffler, Mike
Good
Bliss.
on whatever. I don't know what everybody else is going to do, but I mean, I'm good doing whatever. If we do put some on, if we just put 2.
Here they come, 55 miles an hour down pit road, headed toward you. Shannon?
Well, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is going to go with only 2 tires and fuel. Pretty happy with the car. The temperature is good right now. Let's go down pit road for the Castrol GTX Pit Triple Pit.
And Jason Leffler, top of your screen. In addition to the Sunoco fuel they'll put in this race car, 4 tires and a wedge adjustment, just a little bit tight in race traffic.
And Mike Bliss forfeits the 4th position on the racetrack to come down pit road to take 4 Goodyear Eagles and some Sunoco race fuel. He's away. Jamie.
And Tony Stewart came in, guys. You wonder what he was going to do? Left sides only. Air pressure adjustment and fuel for the 20. And he's down, guys.
That race off of pit road very critical because weather moving in. Stephen Wallace gains 5 spots, comes out behind Tony Stewart as they exit the pits. Back in a moment.
Well, let's go good.
A leader falls, but the war rages on. One of the most compelling and powerful episodes of the season on an all-new Lost. Thursday at its new time, 10 Eastern, 9 Central, followed by a new Grey's Anatomy on ABC. Well, got a little intrigue playing out here as we're a half a lap from the restart. We've got some guys shuffling up front. Their strategy because, Brad.
Yes, sir, AB. I'll tell you what, we got about 14 laps to go before we get to the halfway mark, which could be the checkered flag. So guys now are playing it smart. All these guys are shuffling forward through these pit stops, maybe just getting gas and go, just like the 18 car did. That's going to put him in a position to compete from here on out for those next 13, 14 laps.
Remember, Kyle's been hanging around at the back of the field all race long, but because we're coming up on halfway, while he would normally be content to do that for another 40 laps, he's got to do it now in case the rain closes in and the race falls shy of its scheduled distance. So 18 positions picked up on his pit stop by getting fuel only for Kyle Busch. And Doc, he was not the only one to play a little strategy game for track position here.
Alan, he was not. We talked about the 66 car getting 2 tires only for Stephen Wallace. Moved him up in position there. Stephen behind Tony Stewart. You saw left side tires on Tony. And as you mentioned, halfway is just 13 laps away. These guys know weather is coming, so it's time to pull the trigger, which is exactly what you're talking about Kyle Busch and company are going to do.
Yeah, I think the fact that he just took that fuel and got up there is saying that he's going to go racing from here on.
Yeah, strategy's out the window now. It's just about hard racing and getting yourself to the front, and I think that's probably what we'll see him do. It'll be interesting to see how long Dale Jr. wants to go behind Stephen Wallace here, or exactly what happens there. I know he was very comfortable being behind Tony, and I think that's where he would really like to be in this situation at this point in time of the race.
You talked about how patient the 20-year-old Stephen Wallace was. He has not led at Talladega. He's led here in ARCA competition a couple of years ago. Led last year 1 lap, came from the back of the pack. How patient will he be here in front of Dale Earnhardt Jr.?
He's getting ready to have a little momentum right here. He might be getting ready to take the lead for the first time at Talladega.
Yeah, exactly. And I was going to say he's getting ready to get a big push. We'll see how much patience he does have, because it's one thing sitting back in 6th, but now you got a chance to get to the lead.
Tony Stewart Stephen Wallace, Dale Earnhardt Jr. Talking about two guys to learn from in terms of drafting. I know he learned a lot from his dad, Rusty, but here he's got a champion, two-time champion in front of him and a 6-time Talladega winner right behind him.
And we see Reed Sorensen in this 22 car. This is the first time we've seen him up front. He's been working hard back there in the draft, but this is the first time we've seen him up in the front group.
22 car, Reed Sorensen, his first start of the year, driving for Armando Fitz. Big sponsor announcement for that team yesterday for 6 events here in nationwide competition. Boy, what would a good top 5 mean for the 22 car?
Well, they could use it right now for sure.
And Reed had a great run at the Daytona 500 in the Sprint Cup race, so he obviously understands the draft and getting himself into position.
You just joined our coverage. It is a 117-lap race. Now, rain is on the way, we are being told. And the NASCAR rules are this. You got to go to halfway plus 1. Halfway being lap 59 or 58, 59. So that's once you get to halfway, you're okay. Mike Bliss on pit road.
It's like they're changing right side tires. Maybe had a problem with, I don't know, loose lug nuts. You'd have to wonder why they would be coming right back down pit road right after making pit stop. It's a costly mistake, whatever it is.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. You know, we've talked about him being up front earlier and had a great run going. So he'll have to hope that we're going to have a caution flag at some point in time because he's going to get a lap down.
Mike, update us on what happened with Mike Bliss.
Well, I got to tell you that Andy is pretty keen in his observation, thinking it was a loose lug nut, but it wasn't exactly a loose lug nut. They thought it was a loose rear wheel on that right side. That's why they stopped, guys.
Mike Bliss trying to get up to speed and doesn't have a lot of help there when it's awfully lonely on a big racetrack when you don't have anybody to pull from that draft.
It's very lonely because you can't, when you're running by yourself, you're probably 4 or 5 miles an hour slower than these guys that are going to be coming behind you.
Oh, yeah, they're just going to get to you in a hurry. As we see Dale Jr., we're wondering how long he would be patient, but he got a push from the 22 and has gone to the front of the pack right now. He is still getting a push through the corner.
These guys are absolutely locked up.
That's what I call draft lock right there. There's Reed Sorensen right behind him in the 22 car. And look at the crowd on their feet. This is the unofficial capital of the Junior Nation, Talladega, Alabama. They love the Earnhardt family here. And listen to him as he comes by as the leader.
Years ago, when I was Earnhardt Sr.'s crew chief, we didn't have sometimes these monitors like these guys have now. They could see what's going on the track. We could tell when Senior took the lead just by the roar of the crowd. You heard it right there.
That might be the only scenario that these people wouldn't mind it raining here at halfway. You know, they want to see a full race, but if Junior's out front, I think they would be happy.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. said this week he loves coming to Talladega. It's what he calls Alabama Mardi Gras. Everyone has a good time. The campgrounds, the infield, the racetrack. He said, on top of it all, we get on the track and put on one heck of a show.
Yeah, these guys are well aware of the weather. We can see them now. You know, it's not a 40 car pack, but we have over 20 cars in this pack right now. We see Stephen Wallace hanging with Tony Stewart and trying to work himself back in a good position as they try to get back to the front.
Well, we see this 5 car of Dale Earnhardt Jr. You see how he's using that rear view mirror. He's using that mirror to see which line's coming. He saw that momentum coming from the 20 car, and now you see him taking the lead here. You got more on the 5 car, Shannon?
Yeah, we're talking about his crew chief, Chad Walters. Certainly someone who was very happy to see that number 5 car get to the front of the pack. Of course, Chad Walters was serving a suspension this season, 6 weeks. This is his second race back on top of that pit box, the first one with Dale Jr. You know, I talked to Chad Walters today. I asked him what it was like being home watching the races, and he said, I didn't watch them. I couldn't watch them. In fact, the only time he turned on the set to watch the nationwide races, last few laps of Vegas.
Good to have Chad back on the pit box. Dale Earnhardt Jr., by the way, that is a JR Motorsports car. He owns a Hendrick Motorsports engine. Behind him, Tony Stewart, Joe Gibbs engine. Behind him, Stephen Wallace. Those are Earnhardt Childress engines, so real strong engines up front from 3 different manufacturers.
Jerry, Andy made a great point just a minute ago about Dale Earnhardt Jr. moving up and using the draft. We always talk about using the draft from behind a car. You have to use it all over the place. You have to be ready to take that air wherever you can get it, and making that block and getting that push from behind is what kept him out front. Otherwise, they would have gone right past him as they were drafting behind him. So you not only have to know how to suck up and bump draft a car, you have to know when they're coming, how fast they're coming, and how much of a chance you can take at blocking them.
And like you said, it is risky. I mean, you put yourself in front of a guy that's got some momentum, you want to use that push, but it's risky. That guy could get into the back of you and turn you around.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. has not won in NASCAR nationwide competition since August of 2006 at Michigan. Could he get it done at Talladega? Earnhardt Jr. hanging on. Back with more after these messages and a word from our ABC station.
Closing in on halfway in today's Aaron's 312 at the Talladega Super Speedway. Dale Earnhardt Jr. leads as we check our Holiday Inn Express race summary. Some of the facts and figures on the day is getting a little intriguing up the front here because you got these two guys out front drafting, Earnhardt Jr. and Stewart. You got the outside lane trying to work to get to the front. Oh, and by the way, we're closing in on halfway, and everybody's got an eye on the weather radar, too. There's just a little bit going on.
I'll tell you what, look at Stephen Wallace. I have been so impressed with this young man today. He showed a lot of maturity, a lot of patience. He's been right up there, tucked up and underneath Tony Stewart for the last several laps. He is doing a great job. Kudos to old Steve Wallace today.
So what are the teams thinking down on pit road as they watch their cars on the track? This good racing up front, and, oh, by the way, the weather radar, too. Time for Nationwide to get you up to speed. We start with Shannon in the race leader's pit, or at least he's the leader for now, Shannon.
Well, Alan, it's been a great weekend for Dale Earnhardt Jr. in that number 5 car. They made first practice. All they did was make a wedge adjustment in that first practice, did not compete in final practice, and the car has been good all day. They had a little bit of a temperature problem earlier in the race, but everything is great. Chad Walters said, we have an unfair advantage coming into this race. We have a great car, a great track, and of course we have Dale Jr. behind the wheel. Jamie.
Shannon, Tony Stewart started on the pole. You're looking at the front of that Camry right there. He just came on the radio a couple of moments ago and asked his crew chief, Dave Walters, who's behind me? Dave Rogers, I should say. He said, who's behind me? Dave said, that's Stephen Wallace. And Tony, of course, came back and said, that's why I have that uneasy feeling in my stomach. He's not sure what to expect from Stephen, but so far, so good right now. They're running in the draft. You see the 20 right behind the 5. Shannon?
Well, Jamie, Stephen Wallace, what a great run for the number 66 car. I spoke with Stephen earlier today. He told me he learned a lot about this race, about drafting from Daytona. He said in that race, he opted to stay in the back, hang back, and wait to make his move. And he said, you know what? I got in a wreck. So today his plan was to make it up front, take that coveted real estate at the front of the pack, and that's exactly what he's done. Dave.
The 7 car of Mike Wallace earlier dropped back. Mike saying to his crew, you know, it's too early for me to show how brave I am. He's back up to the front now, and he's working very hard to keep that position toward the end of this race, because remember, he knows what to do in a big draft situation like this. Peeking his nose out right now, trying to keep that car cool. That's been the same for the 64 of David Stremme right behind him, that white hooded car. That car has been running hot throughout the day. They took some tape off on one of their stops. Otherwise, pretty solid performance right now for Stremme, waiting to the end of this race to show what he can do. Mike?
And Dave, we've just crossed the halfway mark, meaning this race is official, and that is very good news for everyone in the field, including the 25 car of Bobby Hamilton Jr. Now, Hamilton may have taken Mexico City in that race off a week ago, but it wasn't a light week by any stretch of the imagination for this team. They went to the chassis dyno, the K-rig, and the wind tunnel. All of that testing is paying off here today as they're running very, very strong. Dave?
Jason Leffler is right behind him in that black and red number 38 car. His best role today may be in a supportive one. This morning, the crew told me that that car pushes better than it leads. Of course, he'll take the lead if he gets the opportunity, but most recently, he told Kyle Busch's team he could push that Toyota anywhere on the racetrack. I believe Kyle might appreciate that. Right behind him, the 99 of David Rudiman, having a solid run today, but he also dealing with the heat issue. They've removed all the tape they can that is tabbed on the front of that front end. So if they get any more heat build up in that engine, they're going to have a tough time. They said, David, if it gets up to 260, we're in trouble. Right now, it's about 235.
Patrick Carpentier right behind him. I talked to Patrick before he got in the car today. This is his first start here in the Nationwide Series, and I said, so what do you think? He said, you know, I've been watching races on DVDs. It looks like so much fun, and it is. He said running these Nationwide cars are more fun than the Cup cars here at Talladega. Hey, he's having a great time, and it's showing. Guys running top 10 so far about the last 15 laps. That's Patrick Carpentier.
So that's how things look at the front of the pack. We are past halfway. Is the rain that close? We'll keep an eye on it. Right now, though, Dale Jr. and Tony Stewart continuing to hold off all challengers. They're in the top 2 spots. I'll come back to Talladega in a minute.
Under caution at Talladega here, where drafting is the order of the day at speeds of 185 to 90 miles an hour. A moment ago, the 6 car of David Ragan spun off of turn 2. And something you rarely see at Talladega was a single car crash. David Ragan having some damage, but able to make it back to pit road to bring out caution. Number 4, there is the car behind him, Reed Sorensen, the 22.
And that's why you don't bump draft in the corner. You see he had some contact there with Reed Sorensen, the 22 car into the 6, and spin him right around.
Ragan headed down the pit road. Let's go down to Shannon.
Yeah, Dale Jr.'s crew chief Chad Walters said, guys, I don't think it's going to rain. So they're going to come down, get some gas, some problems on pit road for Dale Jr., guys. Dave.
Bunch of 2-tire stops. The main thing for Jason Leffler was up to 250 on the temperature. They've got to remove tape on that front. They get it. Oh, there's a tire getting away in front of Leffler. They've got to put it back before he leaves the box. Mike.
Brad Keselowski already away. A very clean pit stop for him. 4-tire change on the 88.
And Tony Stewart, fuel only. He was down and away in about 9.5 seconds. Guys, no changes. Tony Stewart is your leader.
Race off of pit road. Kenny Wallace gains 5 spots. Back 3 for Stephen Wallace. Well, we are past the halfway, and thus far the rains have held off. We'll come back with a green at Talladega in a moment. First round coverage of the NBA playoffs continues on ABC tomorrow with 2 games. First at 1 o'clock Eastern time, King James, LeBron James and the Cavaliers take on Gilbert Arenas and the Wizards in Game 4 of their series. Then at 3:30 Eastern time, how about Tim Duncan and the defending NBA champion Spurs meeting Shaq, Steve Nash and the Suns in Game 4. Spurs lead 3-0 in that series. NBA playoffs first round Game 4 on ABC Sunday. Your NBA destination coverage begins with a GMC NBA countdown at 12:30 Eastern. We are under caution here at the Aaron's 312 at Talladega. Caution for the 4th time today, coming out lap 62. David Ragan spun. Now let's show you what happened a moment ago to the 5 car of Dale Earnhardt Jr. on pit road.
Yeah, you got these guys all trying to get in and out of these pits real quick, just getting fuel, but these cars coming in are blocking the guys trying to get off pit road. Good job for Junior not to get into this 59 car of Marcus Ambrose.
65 of 117 laps are complete, and now we are past the halfway. They still say there are threatening skies, but they were concerned about rain some 15 minutes ago. It has not gotten here. We may get a chance to go full to the checkered flag at lap 117. Tony Stewart will come down and lead him at lap with 51 laps to go. David Rudiman, our in-race reporter from way in the back of the pack. Rudiman started back in 27th position. Earnhardt Jr., Mike Wallace, and Carl Edwards in the top 5. By the way, for you David Ragan fans, he stayed on the lead lap after that spin off turn 2, that little bump draft push he got from behind by Reed Sorensen. So good job by David Ragan and the Roush Fenway team.
And not getting a lot of damage, he might be able to still salvage a good finish out of this.
Yeah, Junior didn't waste much time getting his car up to speed there and getting by David Rudiman and getting himself back in that 2nd position right behind Tony Stewart, where they've run much of the day. But Rudiman was able to get back in line too, just in front of Mike Wallace to stay in line and not get shuffled back.
Speaking of Tony Stewart, he has been in the news most of the week regarding what may happen to him in the future. He's got a year left on his Joe Gibbs contract through 2009, but a lot of discussion about what Tony might do. And in fact, he was asking, I guess he's had a pocket full of business cards all week.
Yeah, you know, and we can speculate all that we want. We're never ever going to know the whole story and everything that's coming Tony Stewart's way. So, you know, it'll be interesting for us in the media to talk about it a lot and speculate what Tony is and isn't going to do. But the only people that know are Tony and his business people. And he has opportunities there. And that's just what he's doing, is exploring those opportunities, seeing what's out there before he goes and signs something else. He may very well go back with Joe Gibbs Racing, but I do know that he has some very interesting offers, and he has it in his heart that he really loves Chevrolet. They've been good to him over the years, and so that might be a determining factor because of that relationship and friendship that he's had with them over the years.
He was adamant in the garage area, Andy, that he had not asked out of his contract. That was misconstrued. I guess he said, I have not asked out of my contract with Joe Gibbs Racing. What I want to do is begin the plan for the future, and some people are speculating his own race team, all on what Dale Earnhardt Jr. has done, except in a cup version.
Well, all I can tell him is be careful what you wish for, because running one of these Cup teams is tough enough, and being a driver and trying to be part owner might be a lot, you know, he doesn't really know what that's going to entail. But it might be intriguing to him. You know, Tony's never gone the conventional route. And, you know, what opens up these opportunities for Tony Stewart is just what we're seeing right here. It's his own track performance. He's such a great race car driver, wins a lot of races, and, you know, he can do anything he wants to, really.
You said it exactly there. Whatever he wants to do is what somebody will do for him. You know, every driver, I mean, every owner out there would look to put Tony Stewart in their race car if that could work, if that's what he wanted to do. But Tony may opt. You know, he owns other race teams and other forms of motorsports. He likes challenges and new challenges, and we'll just have to see where this takes him.
Speaking of making plans, there are 3 Wallaces running in the top 7. Could they consider linking up, Dave?
You know, if we had Mike Wallace in the draft earlier today, that little mock draft we did, who might he have chosen? Listen to his radio.
Yeah, with that 64 and 66, we can lead this race, and we can all win this race if they'll help. But we'll all help each other there.
Poor Carl, go to their spotters up there, okay? I'll go to their crew chief right next to me.
Just follow in a row. That's all we're going to finish here.
That's Mike Wallace in the 7 car, Stephen Wallace in the 66, and David Stremme in another car owned by Rusty. Oh, we got a spin. It's a tap from Wallace.
Right behind you.
Oh, the big one in turn 1, heavy contact, cars in the wall. Stephen Wallace heavily damaged. There comes Kyle Krisiloff down. David Rudiman involved. Oh, heavy damage on Stephen Wallace's Chevy. He was having such a great run. And Kyle Busch has damage on the right front of his Toyota.
Kyle Busch continues to have problems finishing this race. He tried a different strategy, but he's still caught up in this race.
Ripped off. He's checking off pit road first, probably.
Yeah, Rudiman has a lot of damage with his Toyota. You see Kyle Busch coming in behind him, so he will not make it 4 in a row here. But, you know, again, we talked about this. We set it up from the beginning.
This Carl Edwards car.
We saw Carl Edwards with his hand out the windows. They were coming by us here, headed to turn 1. He was waving. There's a 21 car, Stephen Light. Kenny Wallace in the 28 car as Stephen Light gets the Childress car fired, tries to pull it away.
See the intensity level coming up on these guys.
We saw Mike Wallace look like he was going below David Rudiman right here, but they ran up on a slower car. Wow.
Right. Man.
That's Kevin LePage's 61 that Carl Edwards went up across the back of. And then it all broke loose behind him. Cars slipping and sliding. Kelly Byers involved. Brad Keselowski, watch again.
Oh, you see what happened here. This 61 was not up to speed, and it's almost like you know, these guys moved over and didn't see him.
Had no idea that he was coming out. You know, they had. I'm sure that the spotters up there saw him on the apron. They weren't expecting him to come and join back right in front of the leaders. That's just a very unfortunate situation and a mistake on Kevin's part and his spotter. You know, quite honestly, somebody's got to be telling him, and he has to know that these leaders are coming, because he just messed up a lot of cars and drivers' chances.
That's the reason that NASCAR has the rule that you have to keep all 4 tires below that yellow line before you get to turn 1. We saw Clint Boyer get penalized for running his car up on the racetrack, and that's the reason, because you can cause a wreck. That was a bad wreck right there, caused by a big mistake.
Carl Edwards, thankfully, with that hard impact, able to walk away from his car, reigning Nationwide Series champion. And Stephen Wallace climbing out of his heavily damaged Chevrolet after such a great run. Kelly Byers in the 47 car. He has climbed out and away. There is Carl. NASCAR requires that any driver that has any kind of contact on the track goes directly to the care center. That's a good rule, because you never know. You want to be going and be checked out. Well, this is the one we talked about, the big one at Talladega. On board with Ken Larson.
There. Say hi, go high, go high. Go high. Yep.
Now David Rudiman's onboard camera will show you what David saw. There's Mike Wallace.
All right, hold up there, hold up there, hold up there, hold up there. Lap car just wrecked the whole field, Jerry.
Kyle Busch thought he could hang back and avoid trouble, but it was not to be. He was involved as well.
These guys at this point are going through the tri-oval and just racing as they normally would.
If you see that 88, 59 to 1 back. Slow one down low, slow one down low. Watch this, watch this.
That's a huge mistake on Kevin LePage's part to pull up front of this group.
33 car, Cale Gale, driving for Kevin Delana Harvey.
Back it down, 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 come on down, come on down.
Kid from Mobile, Alabama, coming home to drive on his home racetrack in a nationwide car for the first time. He was involved. Again, the 61 car. Now, what's Carl Edwards? Looking up across a racetrack from turn one, there comes a Reed Sorensen just sliding right over the camera. Right into your living room as these cars come by at 180 miles an hour. DJ, in terms of Carl Edwards and how much time or how little time he had to react, what is that like in the car when you suddenly there you look up and there's another car sitting there and you're running 100 miles an hour faster?
Yeah, there's nothing that you can do, and obviously Carl had no idea that car was going to pull up onto the racetrack. You really can't see anything in front of these cars, so you have no idea. You saw Mike Wallace was making a move to go to the inside of David Rudiman. He shot back to the right when he saw the car pull up on. I'm sure it took them all by surprise, the ones that could see, but it's a terrible feeling. You know, most of the time you see that happening as you're going through an accident, but this is just very, very unfortunate that these guys were doing such a great job having a great race and then to have something like this to happen. So, you know, we're seeing that right now these guys can't work on these cars under the red flag condition. They can look at them and see what they need to what tools they're going to need, what all they're going to need to fix, but they are not allowed to work this time. So it's just a very unfortunate situation and one that really could have and should have been avoided.
Yeah, no excuse for that kind of an accident right there, because there's rules in place. NASCAR has strict rules on these cars staying below that yellow line until they get to the corner, and you know, Kevin should have stayed below that line.
Latest count is at least 14 cars sustained some significant damage. 2 or 3 others may have minor fender damage. And again, they cannot work on these cars during the red flag. A lot of debris will need to be picked up down in turns 1 and 2 as we are under a red flag condition at Talladega. It's what everybody dreads here at Talladega, the big one. And it took out as many as 16 cars, lap 70 in turn 1, hard impact. Back with more updates in just a moment.
The ring of fire, the taste of love is sweet.
Back at Talladega, well, a leader falls, but the war rages on. One of the most compelling and powerful episodes of the season on an all-new Lost Thursday at its new time, 10 Eastern, 9 Central, followed by a new Grey's Anatomy. And speaking of lost, here are the drivers who have lost a chance at a good finish at Talladega. Those are the cars involved, and some of them had a good chance possibly of picking up a win today. Many of these drivers in the points. These are 4 or 5 of the top 10 in the NASCAR Nationwide Series points that have now headed back to the garage area with heavily damaged cars. This is the 5th caution flag of the day. Now let's show you what happened on lap number 11. It began in turn 3. Tire issue for the 40 car, and the reigning IRL and Indy 500 champion Dario Franchitti comes across and this gets hard impact into the left side of his Dodge. He's been taken to a local hospital for further evaluation. And this latest one here on laps 70 and 71, at least 16 cars involved. The 61 car of Kevin LePage down on the inside, and the lead draft comes by. And hard impact by Carl Edwards and others as the cars have now been red flagged and pulled to arrest here on the racetrack. Well, for more on safety and why these drivers can walk away by and large from these kind of impacts, let's go down to our ESPN Dish Tech Center and hear from Tim Brewer.
Thanks, Jerry. Folks, we're going to show you a lot of different things in the Dish Tech Center. What we have, this net contains all this equipment right around the driver's head. What we also have here is a nice light helmet. You know, Bill Simpson, he does a phenomenal job with working with technology to make this helmet lighter, because if the helmet's lighter, it's going to keep the head of the driver in place. Another thing, that Hans device. You know, I wish this thing would have came around a long time ago because it holds the driver's head. You know, it doesn't let it have serious injury to the neck, the spine area. But this helmet weighs less than about a pound, and that's good innovations. But when we come back, if we keep this driver contained right here in this cocoon with the fireproof system as far as the uniform's concerned, the belts are properly affixed, you got padding on both sides of the legs. You know, we do everything we can to, you know, improve safety for these drivers. And it's one of these deals to where the guys are our friends. They do a great job. And, you know, we even like these guys. Right, DJ?
Yeah, you're exactly right, Tim. We've done a lot of things over the past few years that have really helped us out. But one of the guys that was involved in that accident and was up in the points in second place is now with Shannon.
Hey guys, we're down here with Carl Edwards, who's come out of the Infield Care Center. He's actually waiting to see the replay of the wreck. So there was no indication that the 61 was coming off a pit road or coming back onto the track.
Look, I don't even know what color a car was hit. I just want to make sure that I don't make some sort of stupid statement, but before I see a replay. But in my mind, unless it shows otherwise, it just looked like somebody. I think it was a 61, Kevin LePage. I think he just pulled up right in front of the field. I don't know. It's too bad the Save-A-Lot guys were all here, and last time we had a great race car. We wrecked in Vegas. Here it is. Yeah, so I'm driving along, minding my own business, and good afternoon. That was, I don't know what, I'm just glad I didn't get hurt there. Glad I didn't get a piece of roll bar or something like that stuck through my floorboard.
Well, it certainly was a big hit from what we saw on TV. How are you feeling right now? They've released you, but how do you feel?
I'm great. I'm just really frustrated. I mean, this whole restrictor plate deal it's a great spectacle. You know, it's great for the fans, but stuff like that could kill somebody. That's just the bottom line.
All right, well, Carl Edwards, good to see that he's out of the Infield Care Center. Mike?
And another guy studying the replays was Reed Sorensen. Unfortunately for him, he was one of the few guys who was able to drive his car back in here. Do you think you guys can repair this thing and get it out?
I don't know. It's I don't know if I should have driven it back, but we did just so these guys could look at it. And it's like a junkyard in here with all these cars. Just hate it for these Supercuts guys. They did a great job all weekend. Just came in, tried to get a good run for them, have a little fun, and it was fun. You know, I was having a great time out there today, and I can't thank them enough. They had a lot of work to do this weekend already, so I don't understand really what happened there. I just saw the replay there. That was pretty wild for sure, but once you get involved in one of those wrecks, there's not much you can do.
What could you see inside the race car during that?
Not much. I actually did see one of the cars go up in the air, and you know, I was already in the outside lane, and I just tried to slow down as much as I could, and then you're pretty much a ping pong ball in the middle then. So just hate it for all these crew guys that work on these cars, and you know, once something happens in the front of the field like that, it's pretty much guaranteed there's going to be at least 10 or 15 cars in the wreck. So just maybe need to review the blend rule or something, because that was a non-racing incident that caused that wreck. So maybe they can look at it and try to get it a little bit better, maybe for tomorrow even.
Doc?
Thank you. My question to our experts up here, is this a function of restrictor plate racing, or is this a situation where a driver makes a mistake and just pulls up in front of somebody, and it could happen at Charlotte or Texas or Las Vegas?
Yeah, you know, we've all made mistakes as drivers out here. There's not one in this race today that hasn't made a mistake at some point in time. So we're not trying to hammer Kevin LePage here, but it was a mistake made by a driver, and it was magnified because of restrictor plate racing, because you have that whole pack of cars. You know, if that happens at another track, you might get one or two involved, but because all of these guys were running 25 cars in a pack, and when one driver makes a huge mistake like that was right in front of the entire pack, then bad things are going to happen. I'm so glad that all of these guys are able to walk away and talk about it. I know I've been there. I know their frustration level, because you come into this race knowing that something's going to happen. And again, they were doing such a good job just in normal racing to have something like this take them all out and put them in that position is what is so frustrating for them.
Yeah, that's what's a bummer. We were having such a great race. Every one of these guys were running within inches and doing a great job. And then one mistake from one guy like that just ruined the whole race. So.
We began the day talking about these guys are fearless, but when you look into their eyes at Talladega, you know that this day is different. They know that things can happen. And we talk about the big one and the things that happen here, the big multi-car crashes. We talk to drivers about their thoughts about what can happen at Talladega in the past and what we just saw happen today. The big one, everyone dreads. Sliding on the inside, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars now sliding.
literally you could be right in the middle of the whole thing and be fine, or you could be nowhere near the wreck and somehow you get caught up in it.
It's so intense, and you can't do anything about it.
Whoa, trouble! The 2-car upside down, over and on to Scott Riggs.
When you start crashing, then you realize how fast you're going, because it takes forever to stop.
The Aaron's 312 for the NASCAR Nationwide Series at Talladega Superspeedway. Normally fast and frantic racing action right now is stilled under the red flag after a multi-car accident down in turn number 1. An accident begun when a car coming off pit road got onto the track in front of a steaming pack of cars at full speed.
The whole pack's coming off 4, but they've got, talking about a piece of debris, they're all going to blow by you, so just stay low. Watch the blend line, watch the blend line. And here comes the pack. Oh.
Voice of Kevin LePage's spotter on his radio as he came off the pit lane. Kevin has come from the Infield Care Center now. Let's hear from him with Mike Massaro.
And Alan, you can see the disappointment on the face of Kevin LePage as he assesses the damage on his car. Kevin, what happened?
Well, it all started when we had a loose wheel and I came down pit road, and as I was leaving pit road, the spotter says pack's coming, so I stayed down till I got in turn 1 and got up on the racetrack, and the first half a dozen cars or so passed me, and next thing you know I got rear-ended. So you know, everybody's mad at me for pulling up on the racetrack, but you go to the driver's meeting, they said stay low till you get in turn 1, pull up on the racetrack, and like I said, the first half a dozen cars got by me without any problem. So you know, my spotter's been spotting for me for a number of years, and I think she did a great job. And you know, I was down low, had my, matter of fact, left side's lower than the apron, and you know, there's 40 other guys up there trying to spot these things, and they couldn't see me coming out of the pits with this red and yellow race car. Then maybe they need to get new spotters.
Well, guys, obviously a very disappointed driver there.
So thoughts of Kevin LePage there on his involvement in that accident. I want to bring in DJ, Andy, and Doc from up in the booth and talk about this now. The instructions the drivers are given at the drivers' meeting about the blend rule. And let's just talk about that for just a second. Kevin is there saying that it's till you get to turn 1 and then you come up on the racetrack. Correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is that the instructions for today were that you had to stay with those wheels below that line till you got around to turn number 2. Am I wrong on that, or are we in agreement that that's what the instructions were?
Alan, we are beside the NASCAR tower up here, and we have been told that the instructions were indeed just that you had to stay all 4 below the yellow line, the blend line, and you could then put 2 tires above it as you're going into turn 2, and then you could get above it in turn 2. So their instructions, according to what they're telling us, was that you could not come up on the racetrack right there. In fact, Clint Boyer was black flagged when he came back on the racetrack earlier today because he went up across that line at that point onto the racetrack and was brought back down pit road. So DJ and guys, when that happens, unfortunately, there's a huge speed discrepancy, and then we saw the results.
Regardless of what the rule was, it takes just a little bit of common sense right there would tell you not to come up on the racetrack when you got these guys were racing 3 and 4 wide at times getting down in there. So there wasn't a lot to be gained by trying to pull up on the racetrack at that point.
And you took exactly what I was thinking, that sometimes you just forget about the rule and you use common sense because, again, this is a totally different racetrack. The rule has been different over the years and things. It used to be that you could put your left side tires on the yellow line going out there. But regardless of that, you have to look at the situation and take into account that these guys are coming over 100 miles an hour faster than what you were running at that time, and you give them room and then you fall in. It's unfortunate that he had the problem, but you just created a bigger problem.
All the carnage down in the garage area, and 16 cars heavily damaged, and you saw a moment ago the distant look of one Brad Keselowski who thought yesterday he might have a chance and might have the car to get his first win here today. Let's go down to Jamie.
Well, and he even led some laps early on in the race, and he was just watching our monitors to see the replay. And Brad, what was your assessment of what took place?
Well, obviously the 61 car pulled up in front of the field. I don't know why. Maybe he didn't know the field was behind him. It's hard telling, but tore up some cars and unfortunately got us. We're not that bad. We just hit with the right front wheel and broke the center link. Once we get that fixed, we'll be right back out there, and hopefully we won't lose too many laps and go get some good points out of it.
Because, of course, guys, more laps on that track means more points. So his car, one of the lesser damaged of all 16 cars involved. So Brad Keselowski looking to get back out there, guys.
Trying to hang in the top 10 in the points, Jamie. He had led 3 times today for 9 laps. And you see now, you wonder why these guys are not working on the car. The Navy crew, they're not allowed to touch the car under a red flag. Brad Keselowski driving for JR Motorsports, Dale Earnhardt Jr. There's a look at his season. His best finishes, a couple of 4th place in 2008 NASCAR Nationwide Series. You're watching ESPN on ABC.
They finish up the cleanup here at Talladega, and we take a minute to look ahead to the next race for the Nationwide Series. Friday night at Richmond International Raceway. They call it the action track. There's plenty of action there. It's a little different than you see here at Talladega. The 49th Nationwide Series race at Richmond is Friday night, ESPN2, 7 o'clock Eastern Time. We hope that you will be with us as we continue to follow the NASCAR Nationwide Series all season long. So while they finish up this cleanup, you see the pace car beginning to position itself back at the head of the field. That's right behind our pit studio. The car's starting to fire up, and they'll withdraw that red flag and put the yellow flag out momentarily. There it is, lower right corner of the screen. Crews will be able to work on the car back in the garage and on the pit lane now, and this field will move around toward pit road. As we look at the standings, Brad, what's ahead here?
Well, I think it's interesting. Obviously, you still got the heat up front with Stewart and Earnhardt Jr., but as you look through the top 10 here, there's some unique opportunities. Bobby Hamilton Jr., DJ Kennington, Morgan Shepherd, Mark Green, all running in the top 10. This could be a huge points day for those guys. So I hope they all can stay in there and get a great finish. But the heat, it's up front. Stewart and Earnhardt Jr., 1 and 2.
And as those teams whose cars were damaged in the melee begin to work on their machines, I want to talk about Stewart and Earnhardt Jr. It seemed like the one of those 2 guys that's gotten out in front, the other guy hasn't been able to get by so far. Remember, Earnhardt Jr. led until the last pit stop. Stewart got out ahead of him when Earnhardt Jr. got blocked in on pit road. Earnhardt Jr. hasn't passed him yet. They've still got another set of pit stops that most likely will come here under this yellow flag. And whoever comes off pit road here, that could be really important.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, I stepped outside a second ago, and that number 5 car, that Earnhardt Jr. car, that thing is hauling the heat, baby. It sounds like a freight train by itself out there in the air. I think that 20 car is going to have his hands full when we get down to cutting time.
Well, Doc, DJ, Andy, got another pit stop to come and about 46 laps of racing to go between those 2, at least those 2.
Lots yet to happen here at Talladega, guys. And as you mentioned, 8 of the top 10 drivers in the NASCAR Nationwide Series points involved with that crash. That's going to jumble the points, but we're talking about the race here. And as you mentioned, Dale Earnhardt Jr., in fact, I give a call to 66-year-old Morgan Shepherd. Now, yes, folks, I said 66-year-old. 15-time winner in this series, and Morgan driving his 221st career start. There's Morgan. Doesn't have a sponsor. He uses his racing to profess his faith, and he is having a great run today in that Dodge Charger.
He's still got a shot. He's on the lead lap, and he's still got a shot at this thing if it gets crazy at the end.
Anything can happen, and we get ready for pit stops. It's going to be interesting to see, again, what kind of strategy some of these guys employ. You know, Mike Wallace is another one of those guys. I don't know how much damage he got in that. Looked like he got away pretty clean, but as they get to pit road, we'll see. Shannon?
Yeah, Dale Earnhardt Jr. was about 6 to 7 laps short on fuel to go to the end, so he is going to come down pit road. Gas only for the number 5 car, as crew chief looks on. Dave.
DJ referred to the number 7 damage. They're going to put a patch on that made of tape. They also asked Mike to keep the wheels as straight as possible so we can see how hard we have to bend that fender to clear it. Jamie?
And Tony Stewart, it's going to be fuel only for him. Just a couple seconds in the pit stop. He's down and away in the lead, guys.
Great race off of pit road. They say they can go 45 to 46 laps. There are 46 laps to go. Make it 45 now. And you see Mike Bliss gaining 7 spots. You heard Tony Stewart just had a splash of fuel. DJ Kennington, we keep talking about the great effort by the Canadian team and McDonald Motorsports. He had a good one in Mexico City last week, and now DJ showing in the top 10. Something about those guys named DJ that do pretty well here at Talladega. Here is what you're talking about, trying to work a little bit on that fender. How important is what they're doing here, Andy?
Well, they've got to get it off of the tire to keep it from rubbing. And at this racetrack, you got to have some shape in that fender too, because it'll really hurt you, especially if you get your car out front.
Keep me abreast here.
Yeah, that's going to be the main thing. Is it might not hurt him as if he's back in the draft and he's got somebody pushing him and he's not busting up that air. But if he's going to try to get to the front, yeah, this may be a situation that he would have to wait literally to the last lap to try to do that.
Kyle Busch coming back on the pit road. He was black flagged a moment ago for too fast on exit. Hard to believe that car there could go too fast because the front end is pretty much been in and opened like a giant can opener. He is being shown a lap down, or was being shown a lap down in the 17th position.
Yeah, as much success as Kyle Busch has had over these last 3 weeks in particular, and all year really, but in this series, it's really difficult to sit there and knowing that your chance at winning another race, when you're on a roll like that, you just want it to keep going. You know it's going to come to an end sometime, but that chance has been taken away from him today.
Kyle Busch was looking to make a mark by becoming just the second driver in series history to win 4 races in a row. The only other one to do it was Sam Ard back in 1983, and ironically that was 2 years before Kyle Busch was born.
These guys using this Bear Bond, it's just like super tape they put on here. It really sticks these panels together and keeps them from blowing off of there.
This is the second restrictor plate race of the year for the NASCAR Nationwide Series. The last race, well, how about the 20 car for Tony Stewart at Daytona to begin the season? Stewart would lead 46 laps. The car behind him, his teammate, would lead 47, and that's the way they would come down. Tony Stewart, Kyle Busch, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. 1, 2, 3, and smoke, they called him, would smoke him at Daytona, winning for the 3rd time in the season opener. Take a look at his career restrictor plate races. You see there, second, first non-DNF in 5 races here. He has come, last year was the first time he had finished a race here at Talladega in the NASCAR Nationwide Series. And in fact, in 23 races here at this racetrack, Tony Stewart has never won at Talladega. He's finished second a total of 7 times. Now, what about the strategy, guys, as the laps click down here? They may have made their last pit stop if we stay green. Let's listen into their radios.
Without this yellow, if we pit right now, we're 1 lap to the good on fuel. The only thing I'm thinking about, though, is, I mean, it's going to be harder to get runs on guys if there's only 5 or 6 of us that are not hurt. It's going to be a lot harder to pass. It's going to be get in line and stay in line. It's going to be hard to get that run, I believe. Okay, makes sense.
DJ, you've been in that situation before after the big one where there are just a few cars that aren't significantly damaged, and how does it impact what you do as a driver? Yeah, you certainly are going to look at things a lot differently. You know that somebody getting a big run, if you stay on the bottom of the racetrack right now, that outside lane getting a big run is a lot less likely to happen because there's not that many cars that aren't damaged, and for them to make that work, it takes 5 or 6 cars for that outside to really work. So it'll be interesting to see if Tony just puts this thing on the yellow line and stays there for these remaining laps. Toyota, 3 Chevrolets, and a Dodge. Taking the green flag. 43 laps to go at Talladega. Glad to have you with us. Tony Stewart has led 38 laps 5 different times. There have been 15 lead changes among 9 different drivers, and the big one involving 16 cars on lap 71. Heavily damaging 8 of the top 10 drivers in the NASCAR Nationwide Series points. I've also been in these situations before after big wrecks and you don't have as many, and you think, well, things are going to kind of calm down, and it just gets wilder and wilder because you got so many guys now that think that this is their chance to win a race. You know, David Stremme and these other guys are sitting there, hey, this is my opportunity to win one of these races. And Brad Daugherty, Talladega has always been known as the land of opportunity for some driver to finally make a name for himself.
I'm going to tell you, the fans at home need to get up on the seat and pull for that 5th place car, number 81, DJ Kennington, out of St. Thomas, Canada. This young man, I went by the garage yesterday. He was laying underneath that race car with oil and grease all over him, working his rear end off to be ready for this race today. So it'd be good to get up on the couch and pull for this young man, give him a boost in the arm today.
Yeah, it's great to see this 81 car having a good run, Brad. And NASCAR is penalizing the 99 car for getting on the racetrack, what they call improperly. They're really watching that now after we saw that last big wreck.
They're going to bring him down pit road, stop him. We told they were going to thinking about stopping him and explaining the rule, which obviously cost them very valuable time here under the green. Again, in the drivers' meeting, they told him you got to come over to turn 2, keep all 4 tires below the yellow line and 2 above it, and then finally all 4 above it as you exit turn 2.
Definitely got a different race going on right now than what we had before the big wreck. It's going to be a little more tactical here, Dale, because I don't think they're going to, like we heard Tony say on his radio, you don't have these big runs coming from behind, so you got to really be, you got to pick and choose your times when you try to make that pass.
Yeah, and you know what could happen right here, because they don't have that many back there. It is possible for a couple of these guys, and if Junior can stay that close to Tony and get out there, we could see a little bit of a breakaway and these two guys settle it by themselves. I don't think that will happen because we've still got some fast cars back here, but man, they are glued together right there.
What do you feel when
you get to turn 2, Dave, just to make them happy?
What do you feel when some guys got their bumper right against
you
it?
can blend in the spotters meeting down here in 1, but now it's turn 2, so just keep it on the bottom. Steel's coming off down through the tri-oval.
You know, you're basically feeling your RPMs go up. When somebody's that close and giving you that much of a shove, it's a great feeling, because it's just like you just got a boost of horsepower. You've got a bigger restrictor plate at that time than what the rest of them do.
Make sure everything's okay coming around you on the outside here.
Now this is the way NASCAR wants these guys to enter the racetrack. You see all 4 wheels below the line until they get to turn 2.
Right in the middle of 1 and 2. Near outside.
Now you see you've allowed 2 tires up and then finally all 4 tires up top of your screen where you could come back on the racetrack.
The orange car right there.
I will say that's something different. Now, you know, obviously raced here last year, and we were able to put our left side tires on that white line as we left pit road and got down to turn 1. You're able to put your left side tires on that, which we've discussed that many times over the years. Why not just stay on the apron and drive around over there? You know, it's about getting up to speed. And even though this is a very wide racetrack, it would eliminate that very scenario that we saw just a short time ago.
Each track has their own rule for blending on the racetrack, and I've been in many drivers' meetings here at Talladega, and it seems to me it's always an issue. Some driver will always have a question about exactly what do you mean? What do we have to do with that blend line until we get to turn 2?
Up front, Tony Stewart, Dale Earnhardt Jr. How about David Strimmy in that 64 car? Strimmy has never won a NASCAR Nationwide Series race, making his 110th start. And he's had basically 4 top 10s the last 6 races, including a 5th at Las Vegas. But now these guys up top 2 are beginning to pull away a little bit from 3rd and 4th.
They're really working together as good as they can, and I'm sure they would like to have a little distance. I don't think that they're going to be able, like Dale said, get completely away from these guys, but they can at least get out there some and maybe run a couple of laps before they catch back up.
Inside of 40 laps to go at Talladega. Can Tony Stewart hold on? He's never won in Cup or Nationwide at NASCAR's fastest super speedway. We'll find out. Back after these messages and a word from our ABC station. ABC's month of Harry Potter movies ends tonight with the network premiere of Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. See it tonight, 8 o'clock Eastern Time, 7 Central on ABC. A little magic here in the final laps at Talladega. Who's going to have the magic wand and can stay out of trouble? Will it be Tony Stewart? Remember, he has never won here in 18 tries in Cup and 5 in Nationwide. And what about Dale Earnhardt Jr., who's been the Pied Piper of Talladega? Let's listen into his radio.
We need to be mindful of our fuel here, bud. Have fun, but we need to be around the end here. Give me a little bit more specific. We're supposed to run out right now. We take the checkered flag. I just don't want you to push it.
A little strategy there with the 5 car. Andy, your thoughts?
Yeah, that's Chad Walter, the crew chief. He's just telling Junior that even though right now it doesn't really matter, it's 34 laps to go, he can actually save some fuel real easily right here. And even though he says that they're scheduled to run out of checker flag, let's just be a little bit safe and save a little bit of fuel.
DJ, how do you save fuel and not lose positions at Talladega?
Well, he can hang on to the back bumper of Tony Stewart there, and he's got a car, the 64 car behind him pushing him, so he's literally, he can be out of the gas a good part of that time. And anytime that you're out of the gas, then you're saving fuel. Jamie?
Well, guys, I just asked the team that exact same question. How is Tony on fuel? And they said, oh, we're good, unless we have a green-white checker. That means right down to the wire they are pushing it right now, but they said Tony's doing a great job conserving that fuel considering he's been out in the front running away. So we have to watch that. He's going to go right down to the wire with 33 laps to go.
Thank you, Jamie. You just saw Mike Wallace in the 7 car pull out and not have much help, and there he will lose about 4 or 5 positions. By the way, you Kyle Busch fans and the fans of Cale Gale, NASCAR has sent both of those cars to the garage area for good because they came out of the garage, were not up to speed enough, Andy, and they'll give them, I think, 1 attempt to come out and get up to speed, and if you're not, they black flag you to keep you from being in the way on the racetrack. 33 Cale Gale, we're being told, will be black flag when he comes by.
NASCAR's got some great rules here, and one of them is that you get 1 chance to fix these cars and fix them right, get them up to speed, and if you don't get them up to speed, you got to pull them in the garage area. So that's one reason these guys really need to spend the extra time. You see a lot of things that are flapping on this 33 car, and even right here on Kyle Busch's 18 car, and they don't have this stuff secure enough and shaped enough to keep the minimum speed.
You know, we've just been told that they're bringing Jason Keller back to pit road because he blended wrong. It's going to be interesting to hear the drivers that were brought back, what their interpretation was versus what maybe NASCAR did say. I'm sure tomorrow's drivers meeting they're going to have a lot more discussion about exactly what is the rule, but there seems to be some confusion there as to exactly how these drivers are supposed to blend back onto the racetrack today.
I think that's what NASCAR's doing right now, is trying to show these guys this is how we want you to do it, and if you don't do it right, we're going to bring you back in.
Toyota, 3 Chevrolets, and then another Toyota. How about the 25 car, Bobby Hamilton Jr.? Good run for Bobby Hamilton, the Ed Renzi car. And the Bobby Hamilton name is a pretty magical name for you, Andy, because you had a very special day here back as an owner at Talladega.
Boy, we sure did. His dad gave me my first win here as a car owner, and it was one of the happiest days of my career when we won that race. And I've been watching Bobby Jr. He's been doing a great job all day long, and he has been very aggressive trying to get his car in position and keeping his nose clean. Lucky to get through the big wreck, so here he is in a good spot.
We tell you that we've told you that Talladega is a land of opportunity. It sometimes can give you a first-time winner. A first-time winner as a driver. How about a first-time winner as a car owner? Back in 2001, Andy Petrie Racing had Bobby Hamilton Sr. in the car, and guess what? He would come down and take the win. And Andy Petrie, yeah, watch him jump on the hood. You're watching ESPN on ABC. Welcome back to the Aaron's 312 at Talladega. And yes, once again, we are under a yellow flag. 6 caution flag today. We've been under caution 6 times for 19 laps, and the latest one involved 3 drivers. Now watch the 81 car of Canadian DJ Kennington entering turn 1.
It looks like he's got a soft right rear tire and doesn't really affect the car when it's going straight. But as soon as he turned in the corner, you can see it just spun around on him. And there goes his opportunity for a good finish.
27 Brad Coleman spins and does avoid much contact. Did a great job, DJ. In the 05, of course, Brett Rowe had nowhere to go.
Yeah, you could see from the other angle that the right rear tire was down, and as he went to turn in the corner, the car just swapped ends with him, and then the 05 had nowhere to go. And just one of those, even though we don't have a lot of cars out there, things still happen. Be interesting to see who hits pit road here.
Some of the cars, most of the leaders are going to stay out because if you heard on the radios a little bit, they can make it on fuel.
And this caution flag will give them some insurance because they get a lot better fuel mileage running at this speed than they do at race speed.
So with the leaders staying on the racetrack, we will take a break and come back and hopefully get these cars cleaned up and get back to some green flag racing. 27 laps to go to the checkered flag at Talladega.
As we continue under the caution flag at Talladega, I want to look back at the day of Clint Bowyer, the championship leader starting the day, got clipped when Dario Franchitti had a tire go down and spun earlier in the race at lap 10. Damage to the right side of this car. So the crew goes to the garage, spends about 22 laps making repairs to the machine. Why do they spend time in the garage working on those cars and bring them back out? Well, because of stuff like this.
Absolutely. The accidents continue to happen. We're going to have cautions. We're going to have more people keep going out of the race. So if they can get those cars repaired, get back on the racetrack and pass those, it gives them opportunity to gain positions on the guys who have to come in during the cautions that are subsequent after the next series of events. So you got to keep racing all day.
In about 3 more laps, Clint Boyer is going to begin to pass in the standings on the racetrack all of the guys who are in the garage now and not coming back. That's about 3 points per position. Remember, he only led Carl Edwards by 9 starting the day, so he's going to start to pick up spots, and Edwards' car is out of the race. So Clint could gain as many as about 30 points on these guys who are not making repairs by the end of the day. We will come back to Talladega Superspeedway for the final 26 laps of the Aaron's 312 in just a minute.
ESPN's coverage of the NASCAR Nationwide Series on ABC. Brought to you by the U.S. Navy. Navy, accelerate your life.
Welcome back to the Aaron's 312 at Talladega. Getting set for the restart. It has been Tony Stewart and Dale Earnhardt Jr. 1-2. And the question is, they come with a green flag. Dale Jarrett, can anyone behind them do anything to be able to handle these guys if they hook up?
I don't think anybody can pass the 2 of them. I think that Dale Jr. can get some help from David Stremme, Mike Bliss, Jason Leffler to try to make a pass on Tony Stewart. But one of those 2 guys, I believe, is going to win this race. I know that's really going on the limb.
And to make that pass, the 5 car will have to lay back, but right now no one's laying back. Here they come.
Oh, these 2 guys get together. Oh.
And Leffler down below the yellow line, but he had to try to avoid contact with Mike Bliss in the 1.
Yeah, it looks like Mike Bliss did not know that Jason Leffler was down there, went turning into the corner, and got together. There's probably some damage on both of these cars.
Mike Wallace, a 7 car, trying to get by. Now Bliss getting back up to speed. He's in the middle there, but doesn't have a lot of help in the draft.
Right now, the big thing to worry about is a tire rub, because we've seen so many of these tires go flat from some of this contact we've seen.
Well, we see the 70 car there on the inside in that last shot. That's Mark Green. He's doing a terrific job there today, and he's got this car up in the top 10 right at this moment.
Yeah, Mark is in 8th position in the Mary Louise Miller car, one of the part-time runners here in the NASCAR Nationwide Series, doing a heck of a job in that 70.
Got a little 3-car breakaway getting into the corner here with Tony Stewart, Dale Earnhardt Jr., and David Stremme in the 64 car.
David Stremme's teammate. Well, here's the problem that Brad Coleman, who was involved in that incident a moment ago.
Hold your line there. Hold your line up there. Hold your line.
And he's had some contact with the concrete. You heard the spotter telling
hold
him
your line. You got one more coming.
To stay where he is so he doesn't come across in front of traffic.
Sure, NASCAR is watching this to make sure that he doesn't have any debris fall off this car that could cause some more tire problems for these leaders.
Meanwhile, back up front, we got 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 cars nose to tail. 22 laps to go this time by.
It's like Mike Bliss and Jason Leffler have gotten their cars kind of straightened out here. I don't see any smoke, so maybe they don't have tire rubs from that contact on that restart.
This is a real cat and mouse game going on right now. You've got Tony Stewart, who knows that he's had the fastest car the whole time, and he's sitting there watching his mirror, seeing where these guys can get a run. You got Junior back there laying back, see how much of a run he can make, how much help Stremme's going to be to him. I'm sure their spotters have talked because they're both in Chevrolets. This is going to be very interesting as we get down to the end. Tony's going to make that 20 car as wide as he possibly can, and we know that Junior is a master at this drafting.
One thing I've seen out of these 2 guys, we saw Junior lead the race earlier with Tony staying right behind him. They've worked together real well. I'm not sure that Tony really knows how good this 5 car is, because I think you're seeing Junior just play the game, run behind Tony, and wait till the right time and the right place to make his move.
Nationwide Series points. Clint Boyer just reassumed the points lead after being involved in that lap 11 incident back on the racetrack, because Carl Edwards was involved in the big one and is back in the garage area.
We've seen these points jump up and down all day when these wrecks happen. We saw Clint Boyer go as many as 120 points behind the leader when he first had his wreck. Now he's climbed back out of that into the point lead.
Talking about Jason Leffler in that front pack a moment ago, drama on the racetrack. There's been a little bit of drama in his team with regard to the crew chief musical chairs. Now Paul Wolf back aboard that box.
Yeah, there was a little bit of a discrepancy or disagreement with his old team about team notes and who actually owned them. So they got all that straightened out. Now Paul Wolf's back at the racetrack and working with Jason Leffler. Looking forward to some good things, because I think Paul Wolf's a great crew chief, and we know Jason Leffler's a great talent. and got a good run going today.
How about the 64? David Stremme has never won a NASCAR Nationwide Series race. He had a great run at Talladega in the Cup car last year. Let's check in his pits. Dave.
During that last caution, he was getting encouragement from his pit box, including from his teammate, Stephen Wallace, who is out of the race and now sits atop the 64 pit box. Stephen radioed, "Hey, this is Steve-O. Dave, can you win?" He goes, I can, but I'd sure need you out here. I don't think there's another Dodge in the top 10. So Wallace watches from here, wishes he was still in his car, and Stremme wishes he still had a teammate on the track.
They are in the Chevys this year, remember. They were in Dodges a year ago. So Rusty Wallace Incorporated in Chevrolets with Earnhardt Childress engines, and strong engines indeed. Caution for the 7th time being shown there. We are told debris off one of the cars, one of the damaged cars, has rolled onto the racetrack, and NASCAR will wave the yellow flag once again.
It's a good move on NASCAR's part if they see this debris out here to go ahead and throw the yellow and get it cleaned up, because we have seen so many incidents. And I guarantee there's a lot of debris. You can see it on the racetrack from all of these wrecked cars. See these cars going by this debris. There's some right here.
NASCAR has spotters all around the racetrack in different locations with binoculars watching for something to come off the car. The question is, can Tony Stewart hang on? You know, he's only finished one time in his NASCAR Nationwide Series career. He's had 4 DNFs and 5 starts. He finished second a year ago, but has never won here. Now the question is, how long has it been since Tony's been on pit road for fresh rubber? Let's listen to the radio.
Smoke, I don't want to scare you, but I do want to be honest with you. I want to stay out. I'm just being honest with you. Not every day you run 100 laps on a set of race tires, so I got to be honest with my driver, that's all.
Hell, you're better off just not even telling me nothing if we ain't gonna come in and do anything about it. So don't plant that bug in my head.
I guess, DJ, you never want to hear a surgeon say the word oops, and you don't really need to know those things when you've got a crew chief telling you how long the tires have been on the car.
Yeah, I think it'd been better off talking about fuel or something like that. Yeah, and it's not tires. You don't want to hear that about it. And I'm sure that Tony probably had in the back of his mind, hey, we haven't changed these right sides in a long time, but you just kind of forget that. But you put a number in your head and make you think that. We're a little funny as drivers anyway, so you just don't want to hear, hey, you're going to have 100 laps on your right side tires by the time you finish this. Well, it's just, that's not normal, especially at a place like this.
Well, Dave Rogers gave full disclosure on his decision there, so everybody knows.
He's just trying to be honest. And what about the guy behind him, Dale Earnhardt Jr.? We asked him, why are you so good in the draft?
I study it, and, you know, the studying part's important, I think, because I just watched Dad and watched a lot of races and tried to understand why things were happening that didn't look like they should be happening, how cars got runs in certain areas of the track, and how they worked side by side differently.
Well, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Dale Earnhardt Sr. and Jr. both very good at this racetrack at Talladega and Daytona. You look at their records here and how successful they've been. Earlier in the week, Dale Earnhardt Jr. said you gotta find your car's strength. You gotta understand the weaknesses, and you gotta adapt. He said, but it's very important. And I think what his dad told him, you've got to have an attack mode mentality. And I'm quoting, you cannot be tentative or tense about your moves when it comes to Talladega.
Yeah, I mean, 2 of the very best. Obviously, with the record, they speak for themselves. And you ask any other driver, and that's who I watched was Dale Earnhardt. That's who I wanted to learn from. Even before I could run with him, I watched and studied what he was doing, why he was doing that, and how it affected his car. And he's exactly right. When it comes that time, you can't be tentative with it. You have to go on and make that move, believe in it, and make the most of it. Sometimes it worked, and it worked a lot more for Dale Jr. and for his dad, more times than it's worked against him. But you have to take that chance and just believe in that move that you're going to make. But you make that calculated gamble because you have studied and you understand what your car can do. Just like Junior said, you have to understand what you're capable of doing and then making that move at the proper time.
I really think Dale Earnhardt Sr. has taught a lot of drivers how to be successful here. All the successful drivers have gone to school from him. I know you've raced with him a lot and you've beaten him, but all of these guys really learned a lot from Dale Earnhardt Sr.
And, of course, your very first win as a crew chief came here at Talladega with Dale Earnhardt Sr. And who can forget? I will never forget Dale Earnhardt Sr.'s last win. He was 18th with 3 laps to go. and said, oh my gosh, where did he come from? And somehow, some way, the Intimidator got it done. Dale Earnhardt Sr.'s final trip to victory lane right here at Talladega in the fall of 2000. But what a performance that day, and everyone said, I remember, I'll never forget the late Benny Parsons said, don't count him out, Doc, because look, he's 18th to 3 laps to go, but remember, we're talking about the Intimidator here at Talladega.
And you know, Bobby Hamilton Sr. said he learned something from Dale Earnhardt Sr. in that race that helped us win the race the next year with the 55 car.
DJ, I've got a question I want you to think about here for a second. You know, as these cars, they're always trying to create better aerodynamics and get the car to cut through the air better. You know, we talk about going to all these racetracks and we talk about the tires, we're always talking about grip. It would seem to me as these cars lose grip over a long run that they may even run faster because there's no friction holding the car to the racetrack. Is that true, or is that just too way out in left field?
No, you're dead on it, Brad. That's exactly right. As the air builds up in these tires and you actually lose some of that grip, especially now since this racetrack itself has so much grip because of the repaving, these cars do get faster as they go on, and that pressure builds up. Andy was talking earlier about the lot of air pressure that some of these teams were running. That's exactly what happens. A lot of times here qualifying, we won't even qualify on what we call sticker tires, a brand new tire, because they have too much grip. We will have put some laps on them. I've actually qualified extremely well here before, and I had 10, 12 laps on a set of tires, and that's unheard of when you go somewhere else. But you were right on the mark there.
I know as a crew chief, when you have a driver saying, well, the car's driving absolutely perfect, well, you try to figure out a way to make it go faster and change that. If it's driving too good, you want to make the car a little bit faster. You might even hurt the handle a little bit to make it go faster.
When we saw Dale Earnhardt, that last victory of his a while ago, that's exactly the aero package that these Nationwide cars have now, with the wickers or the blade across the top, the wickers on the spoilers, and it's such an exciting package as a driver, because you know that the amount of air that you're going to be able to go through and the hole that it's going to create and the drafting effect that you're going to get. You can be way back there. With the other packages we've had, Dale Earnhardt, as great as he was, wouldn't have been able to come from 16th, but because of the way this worked, he could do that. And this, as we've seen, it makes for exciting racing here. And these last 16 laps here are going to be very exciting too.
Yeah, the drivers love the fact that these cars draft so well, and they side draft really well, which is what Dale Earnhardt Sr. was able to use there. Now, what about some strategy, maybe even some let's make a deal going on in the pits? Mike?
Well, draft day, making deals is nothing new, of course, Doc, as you know, and there's a deal going on right now with a couple of powerhouses at the front of the field. Well, some of those Nationwide-only teams are forming an alliance, and if you look at the drivers in positions 4, 5, and 6, and of course that's Bobby Hamilton Jr., Jason Leffler, and Mike Wallace, they've talked amongst themselves. They've decided to hook up and go together, nose to tail, trying to beat these powerhouses and these heavy hitters at the front of the field right now.
Wow, laps winding down. Can the guys who run only in the Nationwide Series be able to claim Talladega, or will it go to Stuart Earnhardt and some of the guys who run double duty? Laps clicking down. Let's listen in as we go full throttle.
70. One way with you. Clear by 4. 464.
Inside. Quarter bumper clear.
Everybody single file still. Still out there. 20 still out there. They're catching the 6.
You just hear them, that right foot goes to the floorboard and the RPMs come up and the engines begin to thunder. It's all you hear because not much to do. They're single file, 15 to go. Tony Stewart has never won at Talladega. Earnhardt Jr. hasn't won in a Nationwide car since 2006 at Michigan. Behind them, David Stremme has never won a Nationwide Series race. Bobby Hamilton Jr. back in 4th spot. It has been 68 races going back to 2003 at Phoenix. How hungry are those guys behind the top two to win here at Talladega?
You'll see Mike Wallace up on the outside. He's got Greg Biffle right, literally on his bumper. And David Ragan was behind him trying to push and trying to make something happen here. I wish those Nation wide guys, a lot of luck in trying to pass those two front guys, because that's two tough customers. But man, what a push he's getting right now. You know, you're in a tough position right there in Mike Wallace. You got that big push. He could have jumped down in there in third, right behind Dale Jr., but you have such a big push, and you've got that. You think you can just keep bringing that momentum on. It may work out for him anyway, but it's going to be tight to see whether he can get himself back in line.
Now what he's going to do is hope his buddies will line up behind him, and it looks like a few of them are right here. His outside lane might have something going.
Tony Stewart pulls him by 4 car lengths. Earnhardt Jr. trying to hold on to second with help from Stremme. Mike Wallace getting help from former series champion Greg Biffle in the 16 up high. Here comes Wallace with pushing from Biffle. Can he get around the 20 car? Dave.
Crew Chief Bruce Cook told me I did something this week that I really hate to do. It's called ending practice early. But Mike said the car is right. They stopped about 20 minutes early during practice on Thursday. And when Mike Wallace says the car is where he wants it to run at a restrictor plate track, a young crew chief like Bruce Cook listens. And right now, he still runs at the pack. But those two guys got away again, Doc.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. just glued to the rear of Tony Stewart's Toyota.
This still could be a disadvantage for these two cars to get that far out in front. If these guys behind can line up and get some momentum, when they do catch these two guys, they will have enough momentum to go past them.
Everybody in practice on Thursday said Tony Stewart had the car to beat. Even his teammate Kyle Busch said Stewart is really tough. Watch him mixing it up behind him for third, fourth, and fifth. Here's the scramble. Stremme now has the 16 car. A veteran driver in Greg Biffle to give him a push.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting, and just what you were talking about there, they're going to have a lot of momentum as they get to those guys, and with they're going to be close to 10 laps to go. It'll be interesting to see if they choose to stay in line or if they're going to choose to use that momentum and try to go on by.
Andy, that's what we saw a year ago when the two Kevin Harvick cars teamed up, and it was Tony Stewart and Bobby Labonte. They ran the leaders down in the final lap and made the pass coming out of turn 4 to take the win away.
That's what I love about Talladega and this particular aero package, because it does make for some great racing. You see, now we've already got this pack closed back up on Tony Stewart. And Dale Earnhardt Jr. is going to have some help from behind if he's going to beat Tony. So he needs these cars. And you see he's getting some help right there from David Stremme.
Yeah, that's a very difficult position to sit in right there. Guys are beating on your bumper. You're wanting to stay there to wait for that time. Junior's showing a lot of patience right now. Jamie?
Well, DJ, you guys were talking about the fact that Tony Stewart has never won here in a Nationwide car. His 4 starts here, his first 4, he did not finish. Last year, he was beat by 5/100ths of a second by Bobby Labonte. He's ended up on his roof. He's been beat by a slim margin. And in the Cup side, guys, he's never won here either. It's one of the few tracks Tony Stewart has never won at. You can bet he's got a lot on the line, and he wants this win more than anything so far this season, guys.
23 times Tony Stewart has come to Talladega, 18 in a Cup car. As you mentioned, 5 in a Nationwide car. He's finished second 7 times. Proverbial bridesmaid at Talladega. He said that's going to end today, although Dale Earnhardt Jr., David Stremme, and Bobby Hamilton say, I don't think so. We got a shot, and we're going to try to get by it. But the question is, how do they do it?
Well, they're going to do it by Junior leading them up there, trying to do that. He's going to drop back here shortly. He wants to stay right on the bumper right now. He knows that this is basically going to be a last lap pass. He doesn't want to make that move any sooner than that to give them the opportunity to go back by him. So he's going to get back about that far, keep the 64 on his bumper, and hopefully get that push. Shannon?
Yeah, well, I spoke to Chad Walters moments ago. I asked him when he thought Dale Jr. was going to make his move. He told me, you know, we were hanging back. We were trying to conserve some fuel. But just over the radio, guys, Dale Jr. said, let Tony know my temperature is good. If he wants to drive hard, I'm ready.
Comes Greg Biffle on the outside. I really think Greg Biffle is going to figure into the finish of this race because he's the one that's been making these moves. You see him pull out a line on these guys. He's not content with just riding in line.
Yeah, he's not content, but I'm not sure his car is fast enough to get in that situation right there. He hasn't really shown that all day. It'll be interesting to see, and it looks like he's got a lot of grill opening right there in comparison. So I'm questioning whether he can get out there and really be the one to go to the front.
He's got a lot of want to. I don't know if he's got enough
absolutely.
car.
Yeah.
Greg Biffle, 18-time winner, former series champion, full-time Cup driver, the Roush Fenway team in the 16 car. Greg Biffle knows what happens at Talladega, and we ask him about the big one. How do you stay out of them, and what happens to you after you see one?
I've got through some of the more spectacular accidents here than anywhere I have ever in my life. But I never make it to the end because I get caught up in the next one.
You dodge one and suddenly you're in one.
Yeah, you just never know, because, I mean, you got 10 cars there still racing hard and trying to win the race, so anything can happen at any time. You've got guys that are losing some patience right now. They want to go, and so they're going to hit you just a little bit harder now than what they did at the beginning of the race.
Biffle showing some muscle in that Ford up high, trying to go around the Chevy of Earnhardt, trying to reel in the Toyota of Tony Stewart.
You see, he gets that big push, but the 7 car of Mike Wallace can't stay there with him to continue that. But he keeps fighting back on the outside, and it's going to be, I don't know. They've got 4 good cars lined up there. It'll be interesting to see if they can get to that 20 car.
What was it our Brad Doherty said today? Today's going to be about beverages, burgers, burning rubber. Did he say Biffle too?
He could have, because it looks like he's a man on a march.
Here's Junior giving Tony another shove. He's gotten away from the 64 just a little bit, giving Tony a shove. And we see Biffle now has the opportunity to jump down in the 3rd. So he's got himself 2 spots further up than what he was whenever he started making that move.
So now I think you're going to see Dale Earnhardt Jr. really watching that mirror, because he wants to use that momentum from that 16 car, Greg Biffle, to push him by Tony Stewart.
Now, Dale, how much does Tony back up? How much does he try to back out and not let DJ or not let Earnhardt Jr. get away from him and get a run?
Yeah, you got to be careful there, and that's a very fine line of backing out of the gas and knowing exactly where they're at. You want to bring them to your bumper, but you don't want to give them that opportunity to have that momentum and be able to go by you on the outside. And then it's not like you can just slam the throttle back down and it's going to take back off. It takes a little time to build that momentum back up.
Tony Stewart set on the pole at Daytona in the season opener and led 46 laps to take the victory. It's the same car, the 20 car, the car behind him, the 5 car is the one that Casey Mears led the most laps here a year ago. It is a great Talladega car that Earnhardt Jr. is in.
Okay, it's 5 laps to go, Dale. Is it too soon for Junior to make his move?
Yeah, I'm still saying this is a last lap deal. If he can wait.
Caution's out, debris, 3 and 3. 4 somewhere.
Well, it's definitely going to be about last lap because we got a caution now.
Caution number 8, debris coming off a car up in turn number 4. So the yellow flag will wave for the 8th time. There's a sizable piece of sheet metal, and you got to put the caution flag out because these cars come by and it whips up on the track. It could be in serious damage. That came down across the racetrack, and there's more up on the track there, so the caution out for the 8th time today.
And this is the reason that NASCAR has that one opportunity rule to get your car fixed and up to speed, because they don't want this stuff to really fly off these cars and spoil the finish of a race like we kind of saw here. I mean, this race was really brewing, and then we had to throw a caution for this sheet metal on the racetrack.
Well, this sort of sets up a bit of a deja vu from last year. Remember what happened? We had a yellow flag late in the race, and it looked like the guys up front were going to win it, but it was all about teamwork. A couple of Kevin Harvick cars. 33 was Tony Stewart. 77 was Bobby Labonte, and they used the graph together, and Bobby Labonte took the win. They came from 7th and 8th position on the final lap to take the win and sort of celebrated together in victory lane.
If anybody had to go by me, I'm sure I would rather be you.
If Junior goes by, I don't see Tony going to victory lane to talk to him today. But
you know he's going to be trying, though.
Well, they are friends. Tony Stewart and Dale Earnhardt Jr. are friends off the track. And DJ, when does friendship go out the window here when the final laps of the race?
Here in just a minute. As soon as they take the green flag and go across here, they're not just going to have a very few laps to go. And it's going to be every man for themselves. You know, people are up here talking. We talked about the spotters earlier. They're talking about who's going to go with whom. But you literally just have to go with wherever you feel like your car will run and wherever you feel like you have that air. I don't mean to bring up my success, but when I won my last race here, I was trying to follow Tony Stewart to get him to victory lane for his first Talladega win. That was my whole job. I didn't think that I was going to win the race. I wasn't in the position, but Tony made a move just as we took the white flag here, and he went to the bottom of the racetrack, and I couldn't get my car there. All of a sudden, the whole front is wide open, and I've got a car, Carl Edwards, pushing me, so I took that push and went on. So sometimes you get unexpected help from places that you don't even know it's coming from, and that's exactly what could happen here to give us a winner that we're not even thinking about right now.
That's what you love about Talladega. Folks, coming up next, except on the West Coast, ABC's World News, or your local news over most of these ABC stations. Here's what you love about Talladega. It all comes down to one lap. Hold on, folks. Let's check in with Mike in the pits.
And, Doc, it's the best of times. It's the worst of times for the 20 team. Of course, they're out front with a dominant race car, but you've got really the king of this racetrack right behind you. What's this like for you in these closing laps?
This is real nerve-wracking. We're real happy with our Old Spice Toyota Camry, but man, we got Dale Earnhardt Jr. behind us, so we got 3 laps to go. Anything can happen. Regardless, we're real proud of this race team. We're real proud of everyone back at the shop that builds these fast race cars, and real proud of everyone on pit road. They did a great job today, so we'll see. We'll watch the race just like everybody else.
It's times like this when you ask your driver to pull out all his tricks out of the toolbox. What are you telling Tony?
I don't know. You got the 2 best running 1-2. You really can't tell them anything. They know what they're doing. You know Earnhardt's going to make a run at us, and Tony just got to play defense. He knows that, so we'll see.
It's going to be an exciting couple of laps, Doc.
And Mike, over here in the 5 pit, Chad Walters, famous driver, runs second right now. Need to talk to him? If you need to talk to him, you talk to him. Okay. A couple of laps ago, we speculated it was too early to go. How long do you want him to wait?
You know, that right now I think it's a classic case of Dale versus Goliath. It's hard to beat them Toyotas, and but if there's a man out there that can do it, it's the man. That's Dale Jr. and that Delphi Chevy. So he knows what he's doing. He's proved it 100 times. They're good friends. They work together, and I'm sure they're having more fun out there than I am standing here right now. So
Dale versus a Goliath, guys. What do you think of that?
Wow, I tell you, if it happens, you won't have to watch it. You can close your eyes. You can hear it because the Junior Nation will let you know if Dale Earnhardt Jr. can make it work. Now, what about strategy on the return? Let's listen in to Tony Stewart's radio.
God, we ought to be in good shape with all these cautions, shouldn't we?
Oh, we got plenty of fuel to make it. I just don't want us to stumble on the restart. Keep fuel in that little fuel cell pickup bladder, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Well, this is not a green-white checker. This is the final 3 laps of the race. Tony Stewart trying to do something he's never done before. Win at Talladega. Dale Earnhardt Jr. trying to get his 7th career win. 5 in Cup, 1 in Nationwide at the world's fastest stock car facility here in Talladega, Alabama. And that's why these NASCAR fans are on their feet. They love it. They know what's about to happen, folks. Cinch up your seatbelts at home on the sofa. It's going to be a good one here in the final 3 laps.
What they were talking about with Tony was to make sure that, you know, when he goes to hit the gas right here in just a second, that his carburetor responds and he can get a good run to start this.
Green flag waves. Greg Biffle right glued to the rear of Dale Earnhardt Jr. How long do you wait? How long does Earnhardt Jr. wait, and where does he make that move?
Yeah, I think now with this situation with the just going back green, as soon as Junior can feel that push and get that opportunity, I think that he goes.
So he's going to take the first opportunity, like you said, with that momentum. And you see these guys bump drafting down the straightaway.
Entering turn 3, they will come out of turn 4. Remember, the start-finish line is all the way down in turn 1. As they come down this time, it will be the white flag. Tony Stewart now pulls him by 2 car lengths.
Yeah, but normally Junior had been standing right on Tony's bumper, but he knows he's got to get back and get that help from behind to get that run at this point. And that's what he's done, is back off there a little bit to get Greg Biffle on his bumper to get that push.
He should have enough momentum to get beside the 20 car by the time they get to the backstretch.
He's backed off to get some help in the draft, but they're now scattering 2 wide behind him. Here he comes out of turn 2. Did he get enough momentum? Can he get enough momentum?
Here they come.
Here he comes on the outside. Listen to this crowd as Dale Earnhardt Jr. runs door to door with Tony Stewart. Can he stay there?
Well, they both got help now, so that didn't work in Junior's favor.
Check out Leffler on the outside.
You're still clear.
They were 3 wide. Now they're 4 wide. Back to 8th position. Start-finish line is all the way down in turn 1. Will they have a shot? Tony Stewart trying to hold on. David Stremme trying to stay in 2nd spot. Here they come.
Boys, we won at Talladega.
Stewart takes the win at Talladega for the very first time in his career.
The one that won us the race, it was the track that You did it.
Boy, Tony Stewart had a strong race car.
Boy, he had a strong car, and Junior made the move and had the momentum. But as soon as he got out there, Biffle jumped away from him, and he didn't have that didn't have the push anymore.
Yeah, I really felt like Biffle was going to decide who was going to be the winner there, and he didn't go with Junior when Junior thought he was, and kind of gave it to Tony. Great job with this 20 team.
Yeah, Mike standing by with crew chief Dave Rogers.
And for the second straight week, Dave Rogers, crew chief's a winning race car. But man, that was close. What were you thinking when Junior pulled up alongside and really put his nose out front?
Here we go. You know, you want to be leading, but it's tough to be leading. You know they're going to gang up on you. Got to take a minute to let my heart settle down here a little bit. Hey, I want to thank Mark Cronquist back at the shop, TRD Motors. You know, Mark's building these TRD motors for us, and they got a lot of power. Mike Bright, Reggie Tucker, all them guys that built this body. It was actually built for Talladega, and it was so fast we brought it to Daytona, and we've won both of them. So thanks to all the guys. It's a fast race car. That's why we're here.
Great at restrictor plate track so far this year, but you see the burnout down there in front of you. You know this is Tony's first win here in Talladega. How big is this for you and for this team, and especially your driver, his first win here?
That motor's junk right now because he's killing the rev chip, but it's really big. You know, Tony and I and Zippy worked together for a lot of years, and anytime we get Tony in the car and we can have success with him, it's special. But to come here at Talladega, it's the first time that a car from the front row won. It's the first time Tony won. It's another 2 in a row for us, so I don't know. It's special. I don't know how to tell you.
Well, Doc, the streak for Kyle Busch has come to an end, but the Joe Gibbs Racing streak continues.
It took Tony Stewart 24 races, 18 in Cup, and now 6 in Nationwide Series competition to finally get a win at Talladega. You don't think he's enjoying that right now, waving at the fans, and the fans approve it because they realize Tony Stewart drove one heck of a race.
He really did, Doc, and it was a great team effort. This is a great race team right here. They've done such a great job all year long. Capped it off with a win at Talladega.
David Stremme finishes second, a best finish of the year. Let's go down a bit, hear from him.
And he's walking all around his race car, checking out all the little damage. He did a little pushing up there, and he got pushed from behind, and you come home second. How about that day?
Yeah, it was really good for the Atris Home Chevrolet. You know, the guys on this team been working really hard here lately. We've run 4 different cars, been all over the country, other countries, and real proud of them. You know, for this organization, it's a building process, and we keep getting stronger. But at the end, it was wild. I was going to go with Junior. Then I kind of got hung out a little bit, and I stayed on the bottom and seen smoke up there, so I said I was going to go with him. But got to thank Bobby Jr. He hung with me there and with Biffle and that. But it was a good day and all.
All right, David Stremme coming home second. Right behind him is Bobby Hamilton Jr., who also had a great run today, guys.
Team getting stronger and stronger, talking about the RWI guys there for David Stremme and Stephen Wallace, who had a good car until he was involved in a multi-car crash. Kudos to Bobby Hamilton Jr., his best finish of the year thus far. Jason Leffler in 4th. And how about Mark Green getting a 5th place finish in the 70 car? Let's go down and visit where Shannon is caught up with Dale Earnhardt Jr.
That's right, Dale Earnhardt Jr., 6th place finish. Looked like you had him. The entire crowd was on their feet. Tell me what happened on that last lap.
Well, me and Tony worked great together the whole race, and I wanted to be, if I could help it, I wanted to come down between me and him, and so we worked together the whole race, and it was down to the last lap, and I backed off, tried to pack the 16 and a couple guys there under the rear bumper of the car to get a run, and I thought we had it timed good, but our run wasn't as good as it could have been, and Tony's car was just that strong. So congratulations to him and Joe Gibbs. That was a lot of fun today, and you know, that was fun at the end, you know, to run nose to tail. I think the package could be a little bit better to keep us off the bottom, you know, make the racing a little more exciting, but hopefully everybody's okay from the big crash, and I want to thank Delphi and all our sponsors at JR Motorsports, and you know, she's sort of in one piece, got a couple dents from all that bump drafting, but it's a good car.
Well, Dale Jr. said he had fun today, and it certainly was fun watching him, guys.
After 10 races, the NASCAR points are thus: the top 4 stay stay the same. Big gain by Mike Bliss, gains 2 spots. How about Bobby Hamilton Jr. goes all the way up into the top 10 with that impressive 3rd place finish here today. Well, let's go down and talk to the first-time Talladega winner as Jamie Little down there with Tony Stewart.
And Smoke talking to the team, celebrating. Everybody's so excited they finally made it to victory lane at Talladega for the first time. Tony Stewart, smoke coming from the car, hence the name Smoke on the side of the car. He gets his hat, getting ready to climb out. Tony Stewart, as you said, Doc, 24 starts. And it's a Gatorade bath that we're in the middle of. Tony. Woo! Tony, 3 laps to go. The caution comes out. You have no help. Dale Jr.'s behind you with a freight train. What is that feeling like?
Not very good. But, you know, with the momentum of these cars, I just didn't, you know, I knew I probably needed to get back a ways to him, but and not get out too far to the front. But this is our good luck charm right here.
Little Brittany, Make-A-Wish Foundation.
Our friend from Make-A-Wish that we met today, and I told her we'd try extra hard to get in victory lane to get her in victory lane today, so I'm glad we got you here. Now we're going to have to take her on the road the rest of the year, so she might miss a little more school or something, but this thing was awesome. I mean, all the guys, Dave Rogers and everybody on this Old Spice team, they did such a great job today, and you don't know what to do. I mean, I didn't think leading was the place to be, and I still don't think that, even after winning the race, that you know, being the leader there with 2 laps to go was the right place to be, but you know, he did what he had to do. They just got spread out behind us, and you know, we got a push from behind that we needed, so we were able to get back by.
Congratulations, Tony Stewart, victorious in the nationwide race here. Alan?
And as the celebration continues, we begin to turn our attention to next weekend's race, the NASCAR Nationwide Series at Richmond International Raceway. Friday night, coverage starts at 7 o'clock Eastern Time on ESPN2. And make sure to tune in tomorrow for continuing coverage of the NBA playoffs, Cleveland and Washington, Game 4 of their series. And then at 3:30 Eastern, the defending NBA champion Spurs at the Phoenix Suns in Game 4. Coverage starting at 12:30 Eastern on ABC. And up next, except on the West Coast, ABC's World News or your local news over most of these ABC stations. Exciting day. Big accident, a lot of great racing at the end. Tony Stewart held off Dale Earnhardt Jr. for the victory. Thanks for watching ESPN on ABC.